26th City of Onkaparinga Council meeting. I have an apology from Councillor Marissa Bell, and just before we start, I'll just ask each of the councillors just to introduce themselves, their name and the ward. And we'll start over here with Councillor Platten.
Hello everyone, Councillor Dan Platten, Mid Coast Ward.
Hi, Councillor Kim Davis, Pimpala Ward.
Hi, Mick Fisher, Pimpala Ward.
Good evening, everyone. Gretel Wilkes, Mid Coast Ward.
Jordan Pritchard, Southern Vales Ward.
Colt Stafford, Knox Ward.
Marion Thamiliotis, the Lesser Ward.
Lauren Dew, South Coast Ward.
Paul Yeomans from South Coast.
Jeff Eaton, Thalassa Ward.
Evening, Heidi Greaves, Knox Ward.
Thank you, everyone. It's nice to see all the microphones working. That's great. We can begin now, and we have first piece of business we need to do. We will take the pledge. So invite all elected members to stand for this, please. We recognise the city's considerable natural and cultural heritage, including thousands of years of traditional ownership by Ghana and the more recent contribution from people either born here or who have migrated here. As we meet together, we build on this heritage by respecting and listening to each other, thinking clearly, being receptive to new ideas, speaking honestly and deciding wisely for the current and future well-being of those we serve. Thanks, everyone. And just a few messages around recording. As you heard at the beginning, this meeting is being recorded and it will be available to the public about 48 hours after we finish our meeting this evening. So people who come to do deputations, you will be recorded, both audio and vision. And if you're in the gallery and you don't want to be seen, you might like to duck under that, so that making sure that you don't get seen. Just to thank you for everyone who's here tonight in the gallery. You're very, very welcome. We're really pleased to see you here tonight and have you listen to the deliberations. So this is a way in which you can observe the meeting, and participation is only if you're coming to do a deputation. So cheering, booing, anything like that, I might have to kick you out. I don't really want to do that under the Local Government Act, but there are rules and I will indeed enforce them if I need to. My responsibility as the Mayor is to ensure that our meetings are conducted impartially in accordance with the Act and regulations and within our adopted Code of Practice. So all of the councillors have adopted that Code of Practice. So to support that, I'll be asking all remarks are directed through the Chair, through to me, and that members should address their comments to me and not directly to one another unless we find a way of doing that, and sometimes we can be creative and do that. I remind you that debate and questions must remain relevant to the motion before us and focus on the substance of the matter under consideration. Where required, I will call members to order and maintain order and procedural fairness in accordance with our agreed Code of Practice and meeting regulations. And I'm sure with everyone's cooperation, we can have yet another constructive and effective meeting. For the deputations that are here tonight, members of the public who are in the supporting roles perhaps, we're really pleased that you can be here to support the people who are making representations. Usual rules apply for good human behaviour, no derogatory remarks, swearing or any of that kind of stuff. Making sure that you stick to the time. I don't actually have a big crook to pull you out, but I can use the power of the microphone to cut you off, and I will do that if I need to. Our meetings are open to the public unless there's any reason that they have to be made confidential, and so they are also subject to all the normal laws around defamation. So thank you for coming. That's all just things that I know that you all know and will behave accordingly. And when we get to the deputations, I'll just give the deputies a little bit more information. So thank you again, and we can move right into the substance of the meeting. But just before we do that, I do want to make a very special and very delighted welcome to our new CEO, Sharon Mason, and perhaps we can do that in a way making her feel very welcome. And I don't expect her to have to do too much tonight, but we can kick each other under the table if we need to. So, confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover? Councillor Thamialotis.
Yes, happy to move.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak? Councillor Greaves.
I'll second, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wilkes.
To debate, please.
Do you have a question, motion?
I'd like to debate.
Oh, debate. Go ahead.
Thank you. Look, as we confirmed the special council meetings held on January 29th, it was regarding the Beachside Food West Festival, and I just wanted to note some important outcomes about those minutes. While the motion sought to provide safe public access and support local businesses, the reality fell far short. Elected members were not notified in a timely manner that the liquor licence had been granted, limiting our ability to provide oversight to the local businesses who that special meeting was in regards to. Several local businesses also approached me after the special council meeting, stated that they had no idea about the event details. Despite the intention of the motion, communication with businesses prior to the festival was clearly insufficient, and the key measures of the special council meeting agenda was not implemented. The access point on Clement Terrace, endorsed by this chamber during the special meeting and intended to allow safe access and keep businesses open, was poorly implemented. It was completed by a continuous fence line and had a no entry sign just 5 metres in front, and cones placed 20 metres in front of that road sign. This was potentially around the wrong way for traffic management and arguably discouraged entry from either direction at this particular entrance point. I will address these issues along with other points in my 11.4 notice of motion, but for the purpose of confirming these minutes, however, it is important that we acknowledge these outcomes so our records can be an accurate reflection of witness accounts. Thank you.
Councillor Thamialotis, do you wish to close debate? Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. And I'm just checking that's also then for the council meeting of the 20th of January, so I'll just check that for minutes as well. Yes, thank you. Excellent. All right, now we move on to the Mayor's report, and there are a few little additions to that, and I'll just find my right piece of paper. Councillor Yeomans was with us at the meeting of the awards, the Australia Day Awards and our citizenship ceremony. I also wanted to alert you all to the additional correspondence from the Ombudsman, and which was sent to every single council across the state, and there was nothing in particular for our attention. That was just the Ombudsman has decided to make sure that that goes to everybody, and to remind us all that it was a sector-wide communication, and we have all the procedures and the conflict of interest forms included in your agendas, and so as those items come up we can actually make sure that we include them. And I think that's the only two. Oh, and we also have an extra piece of correspondence from the Honourable Nick Champion, the Minister for lots of things, planning and water and housing. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'll move it.
Thank you so much. Councillor Greaves.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to second. I do have a query just about, and look, I appreciate you can't attach every single piece of correspondence that you receive, but I think given the matter relates to the Tarak development, is it possible for you to also include a copy of the letter that was received from Jeremy Blanks?
I have had some advice around that, and I will make sure that all of the elected members have access to that, and whether it can go into the minutes or not is something I'm still trying to get some clarification on.
All right, excellent, thank you.
Any questions? Councillor Wilkes.
Yes, please. I'd like to enter debate.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to point out that the letter from the Chief Public Health Officer regarding the harmful algal bloom was in great interest to the ACCN, which I am the chair, and also the council representative. So I just wanted to thank Councillor Yeomans publicly for bringing that to the forefront and say that there's a lot of people interested in the local government about that particular issue and trying to collect that health data. So I thank you from the network to Councillor Yeomans.
Thank you, and I know how much they really appreciated it. A couple of other little ones was I did radio for ABC on the 12th and the 13th of February as well, which was after we were tidying some of these things up. Councillor Eaton, did you wish to close debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, everyone. And we now come to presentations, and I'm very pleased to welcome tonight Les Buckley, who has quite a title, which I'm going to get right, because I've really appreciated the support that we have had from SAPOL over many, many years. And tonight he's here to join us and catch up with some of the issues that are impacting on our community. Les is the Superintendent and the Southern District Police Commander, and if we could make him welcome, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the Council and give them an update regarding policing issues in the Southern District. It's also an opportunity for us as police to take the opportunity to thank people who've been significant contributors to us over a long period of time, and we're looking to do that at the end of the presentation, which I intend to keep very brief. Okay, clicker. Wrong one. Oops. Okay, first of all, I think it's important to give people an idea of where the Southern Policing District actually is. It's quite a large area. It goes from obviously in the southern area just past Sellex up to the city boundary and just south of Glenelg. As you can see, it also goes across into Kaipo Forest, and it's quite a large area. Within that area we have about 455 police and unsworn people who provide a service to the community 24 hours a day. People always like to know about statistics, but we all know statistics can be influenced by various factors. So I'll put some statistics up there just as a bit of a guide. It's been reported in the media, but at the moment, crime's tracking quite well in relation to, we break it into offences against person and offences against property. So statewide, it's, there's a bit of a trend down, but unfortunately, over a period of time, we have seen a slight increase in offences related to people. Within the Southern District, we've also seen that trend. So offences against people have gone up by about 1%. This is in this financial year to date. And domestic violence is a large contributor to that, based on our ability to influence behaviour and obviously trying to promote respectful behaviour in the community. I've put a few other things up there which are probably an example of how statistics can influence or be misinterpreted. For example, all this information is available on Data SA for any people who are interested. In the last, well, up until this time of the financial year, we've actually had 6 homicide-related offences, whereas the last year we only had 1. So if you look at pure statistics, that sounds very bad. But within that we have 3 people who were very sadly murdered, but then we've arrested those people. So that's an example of how percentages can be misinterpreted. Assaults also gone up by about 2% in comparison to last year, and that covers a broad category of activity or legal activity. What's pleasing is a number of offence categories have gone down. Sexual offences are down, which really reflects reporting. Robbery has gone down, where people are specifically targeted for their goods. Residential serious criminal trespass is also down significantly, and that's been a trend over a period of time, and so has theft. But one of the things about statistics is there's lots of categories and you can just delve into a lot. But if you're really interested, Data SA has all the raw data. Okay. And one of our other roles is obviously influencing the behaviour of people on our roads, which I think is topic of interest for the council this evening. What we do look at is fatalities and serious injuries. Our goal is to obviously make the roads as safe as possible, and we do that through 3 steps: enforcement, engineering and education. So obviously police can't be everywhere at every moment. So obviously enforcement, we'll try and target specific areas based on intelligence. Education is obviously provided by all parties, and the engineering side of things really comes down to how roads are designed, but also decisions about what vehicles or items should be on pathways perhaps, or areas like that. Once again, that data is readily available. Okay, the challenges we face. A lot of these have been in the media, but policing always will face challenges. It's staffed by an incredible group of people who face these challenges every day, and they do an outstanding job. Staffing-wise, we've had some challenges in relation to people who are getting a bit older, getting a bit more fragile, so they get injured, so they're away from work for periods of time. We've also had a period of retention and recruitment challenges. I'm pleased to say that that's definitely on the improve. We've got a large number of people who've come from overseas. A lot of them want to come to the south. It's probably due to the fact that we got one of the presidents of the local surf lifesaving club to go overseas, and when he saw the beautiful beaches and the Noarlunga jetty, they've all decided to come down south, so which is really good for us. The increasing demand is basically across the board. We're getting a lot of requests for different things, and that's just increasing exponentially, but it reflects, government policy and our desire to obviously change people's behaviour and the way they interact with each other, and in particular in relation to domestic violence and the way that people respect each other. Mental health is also an area where we spent a lot of time. Our workload has increased significantly over a long period in that area. It's pleasing to see some of the changes that have been made. Recently we received funding to put police with mental health experts. So we have mental health corresponders in the south, which is the first time that that's happened. And we're hoping that that will allow us to help people who face those challenges. And most importantly, we'll have the expertise of the people who are mental health practitioners to help us be kinder. But if necessary, we have to enforce the laws or take people to hospital forcefully. One of our biggest areas, and this has been spoken about, the Commissioner, is referrals from other government agencies. There's a lot of work that requires some assistance out of hours, and police work 24/7. Not all external agencies do, so we find that we do get phone calls regularly about other things, but that's because we answer the phone. Others don't have that service available. So that's a bit of a challenge for us, but we'll generally prioritise and go to the most important things. We recently, the Commissioner, organised an independent review to look at how our structure was operating, and the findings have basically determined the changes needed for the future, and some of those were commented on, but it's in relation to centralised versus front-end control, so more engagement with the community around some of the problem-solving issues that can make things better. So we're really looking forward to those changes being put in place. As with any change, it might take some time to be able to do that, but I know our people are looking forward to changes that they've raised, and that should help them with what they do every day. So ultimately, our biggest challenge is managing external expectations. Everybody wants things from the police. We try and help as many people as we can, but we obviously have to prioritise what we do. So we're always happy to have a chat, but we can't always necessarily solve a problem at the time. but we'll try and do our best to help. Now, going to local issues, these are just a number that I've become aware of. Obviously, e-bikes, in relation to the law, the things they do, the risks they represent, that's a challenge for the future. If you look at other jurisdictions, they've also faced these challenges and they've been addressed in various ways. So that's something for your consideration, I believe, this evening as well. And once again, we're happy to have a chat, but ultimately the police enforce the law that's made by government, so our influence is around providing advice on what we see. Cyber offences, this is probably a growth area, reflects some of the communication that people have with each other. I think someone said recently it'd be nice if people were more respectful with each other when it comes to politics. Don't know where I see that. But that obviously goes into things like social cohesion as well, where people have different points of view and how they communicate them or express them. I think the word respect comes to mind. You can have a respectful debate without attacking individuals, and that would be nice to see, because there are actually offences that can occur online when people decide to target others, harass them, or do things like that. So when those allegations come to us, we need to assess them based on the facts, and then we'll make a determination on what we can do legally. Sometimes we can't intervene because we just don't have the evidence. And sometimes it's about politics, which unfortunately at times can become untidy. Just moving on, there's a lot of, there's been a lot of communication recently around public spaces and their safety. The government's put in legislation around knife-related crime and things like that, so we now have an ability in declared spaces, and we have a number, as shopping centres, for example, to randomly check people to see if they have knives or things like that. The actual metal detectors will detect any metal, so we just basically we'll go from there. It also includes transit routes and also transit stations, and what we're generally doing is we're looking at areas which have had some risk associated with them, and we're trying to target them because the transit line, particularly from Adelaide to Seaford, is very long. But we're generally looking at the areas where most people go, Noarlunga, Westfield. There's some of the other shopping centres as well, so they'll be approached as well about how we can help them. Now, in relation to e-bikes, I thought I'd put that up there. It's just an example of the type of effort that can go into trying to enforce the law on something like this. People who ride these bikes and they're quite young or whatever, if they're not within the rules and they have excess power, it becomes a motor vehicle and it's subject to the same legislative rules that apply to people who are licensed. So if they're basically unlicensed, their vehicle can be seized, all those types of things. One of the other challenges is that they're very slippery. They can weave through little spaces and all those types of things. So as police, we need to be extremely careful about how we go about trying to catch people, because like with cars, people racing off at great speed can sometimes cause greater harm. But that's just an example of where we've had some success. It involved the police helicopter and a lot of people working together to be able to hold people to account. Now, this is probably the most important bit for us. Policing can't operate in a silo. We need partnerships. We need to talk to people. We learn from others. And then by having that conversation, we're able to grow and then become better at what we do. And in that regard, particularly with the Onkaparinga Council, we've had an ongoing partnership with a number of people who've been doing fantastic work. As an example, the Southern Community Safety Meeting brings groups of people together who share information, and they're able to look at solutions or ideas to make things better. I know that's been going for a long time, and from speaking to my staff who are involved in the meeting and with the people who are involved, they really appreciate the work that's done. We also engage a lot with Onkaparinga regarding event management. Our partnership is brilliant, and obviously it's a large economic driver within the area. So, you know, when we work together on things like that, it ultimately supports the community, and if people have a good time, we're all for that. Emergency management, we have representatives from Onkaparinga on the local emergency management committee, and once again, you know, particularly in other states, emergency management is local. Their structure's a little bit different, so it's extremely important. Community rangers, out and about, doing all those things, contributing, so we work with them whenever we can to support them. Obviously, we have the other areas. Crime prevention for environmental design is very useful if it's considered in planning. And the CCTV that we have here is very good, and you can see that the future is going to be a lot to do with having appropriate, you know, CCTV in various places, because it's very good for police to gather evidence. It can be preventative, and you can see that it really does deter people. But most importantly, if people do something stupid, well, then we've got good evidence to hold them to account. Now, finally, on the probably the most important thing for this evening, I'd like to present some certificates to some people from the council who've basically been making a major contribution and helping police over a period of time. This has come from my staff, and with the permission of the Mayor, I'd like to call up, if it's okay, people one by one and present them with a certificate of appreciation from the Southern District Police for the help that we've been given. So, first cab off the rank, oops, my glasses, is Darren Moyle. Now, my understanding, Darren, is you're the Asset Protection Coordinator? Correct. So, on behalf of Southern District, thank you so much. I know you've been doing this for a long period of time, and this is just a small token of appreciation from all our people. So the people on the ground are the people who've gone, we appreciate this. Unfortunately, I can't get everywhere I'd love to, but it's really appreciated, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The second certificate of appreciation goes to Trevor Ashenden, who basically is the team leader of community safety. Once again, my people have basically told me what a great job you do interacting with them, helping, and you probably have some unique knowledge in relation to that.
Thank
so
you.
Well done. Thank you. And finally, but not least, we'd like to recognise Philip Jeffrey, who's the team leader of community safety, in relation to his contribution. People might know that Phil has a bit of a history in law enforcement, and he's obviously moved to council and made a contribution here. And it's really fantastic when people can move from one area, take that expertise into a different environment, share skills, meet new people, build relationships, and make an enormous difference. So thank you very much, Phil. Cheers. Well done. Thank you. And, yes.
One more slide.
There was one more slide, but that's just basically if anyone had any questions, there's an email address that people could send questions through to. That goes to my executive assistant, and basically I'll take responsibility for answering each of those. So if that's okay with you.
That is very okay. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it.
Very good.
Really, thank you so much for coming tonight, and also for recognising our incredible staff. And I'm really delighted that Trevor, Darren and Philip have been really appreciated by all of us. And I'm just wondering if we might make sure that we put in the minutes, if someone would like to make a motion of appreciation to those gentlemen. Thank you, Lauren. Councillor Dew.
Yeah, I just, as the Mayor just mentioned then, I'd like to include in there the acknowledgement of the three council staff, And on behalf of all of us, I'm sure the Mayor should be saying this, not me, but thank you all for your ongoing service to our community.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Platten?
Yes, I'd like to second that as well. Thank you very much.
All right, and I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, if the minutes can record that too. Thank you, gentlemen. It's great to see you all. Okay, now we move into the part of the meeting which is called deputations, and we do have quite a number tonight. So our first set of deputation is from Gavin Miller and the crew at Southern Tigers, and they're going to come forward, and I think Jason's going to be the speaker, but our normal procedure is to accept deputations when there's an item on the agenda. I did accept this one because it's part of the advocacy work that we're doing, and we do have a report coming to us in April. So while there's nothing specifically tonight on our agenda, it is on our agenda more broadly. You have 8 minutes. You will hear a noise that will frighten the daylights out of you if you're deep in your deputation at the 6-minute mark, and that lets you know that you've got 2 more minutes to go. You've also got on your tables, councillors, I believe, some information that has been provided to everybody, and I'll hand over to you, and your time starts now.
Thank you. Good evening, councillors, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jason Gillespie. Tonight I'm here representing representing the Southern Tigers community. A community that has been building connection, resilience and belonging for over 50 years. I'm also here in my capacity as a parent. Our son Brandon has gone through the Southern Tigers pathway, is now an NBL1 player, and will soon be going off to college in the US. We're here because we believe that MORPHETT VALE Basketball Stadium can be so much more than just a building. It can be a catalyst for participation, well-being and community pride. Let me begin by outlining the heart of our proposal. Southern Tigers Basketball Association stands ready to step into the head lease of MORPHETT VALE Basketball Stadium as community custodians. Our vision is built on 3 things: collaboration, community benefit, and a clear future-ready plan for stewardship. This deputation isn't just to inform, it's to demonstrate our readiness and our commitment to working alongside Council and our partners, including Basketball SA, to create better outcomes for everyone. So who are we? Southern Tigers Basketball Association has spent more than 5 decades building something special in the South. Today, we engage well over 1,000 participants across competitions, academies, school programs and wellbeing initiatives. And importantly, we do this in a sport that is surging nationwide. Basketball is now Australia's 2nd highest team participation sport, with 1.3 million playing nationally. Among juniors, it's in the top 5 most played organised sports, with over 350,000 children aged 5 to 14 participating. This matters because our region deserves to share in that growth. We've already produced 4 NBA players and Olympians, proving that talent can come from anywhere. And at its heart, Southern Tigers Basketball Association is about wellbeing, leadership and identity. We create safe, supportive places for young people to grow. Why are we here? We're here to ask the Council to support Southern Tigers Basketball Association as the preferred head leasee. We say this respectfully, we say it clearly. We value Basketball SA and recognise their ongoing governing role. This proposal is about future opportunity, not past criticism. Stadium is a community critical asset. It's heavily used, deeply loved and absolutely central to local basketball life. But it needs stability, coordinated planning and community-centred management. Demand is growing in our club, across the state and nationwide. We want to make sure this facility is ready for the next decade and beyond. There are real challenges that we can solve together. The infrastructure, well, it's ageing. Backboards are over 30 years old now. Court surfaces that need renewal. A building that cannot regulate temperature, and it's uncomfortable for players and spectators. This isn't about blame. It's about recognising that the stadium needs a community-focused operator to lift it into the future. Southern Tigers Basketball Association is ready to take on that responsibility and reinvest every dollar back into making this a safe, modern and inclusive venue. This is where Southern Tigers Basketball Association model really shines. A single, accountable operator creates clarity. It means consistent WHS systems, predictable scheduling and reinvestment that stays right here in Morphett Vale for our kids. Our approach is community-driven, a cost recovery model that advocates for affordable and accessible basketball, especially for families feeling the cost of living strain. And importantly, our intention is to work in partnership with Basketball SA through a formal memorandum of understanding. Their role in high performance pathways and district competition remains absolutely vital. For Council, what this does, it creates simplicity. One point of accountability, one structure overseeing governance, WHS, scheduling, compliance and engagement. This aligns strongly with the City of Okapriga's recreation vision, community-led, sustainable, safe, high-quality spaces. You're not just endorsing a club, you're endorsing a community organisation ready to take ownership of the hard work, maintenance management, compliance, communication, with transparency and regular reporting. This is a partnership that reduces risks and strengthens community value. For the community, the benefits are profound. Affordable access to drop-in shooting, as costs can be managed locally. Longer hours and more programs, because scheduling becomes flexible and community first. Expanded development pathways, because more court time unlocks more opportunity. And critically, well-being and inclusion. Basketball participation among women nationally has grown 25% since 2022. It's especially popular in culturally diverse communities, a key demographic here in the South. A reinvigorated stadium means more families engaged, more young people supported, and a stronger sense of belonging. Our proposed governance model is simple, structured and accountable, based on 3 levels: Management Committee oversight, AIMC, which is our Facilities Infrastructure Advisory Group, operational team managing day-to-day scheduling and issue resolution, and all within a framework that includes a formal MOU with Basketball SA, standardised hire agreements, clear WHS and child safe processes. This is modern, responsible community management. We're not asking for an overnight handover. We're proposing a staged, safe and realistic transition plan if Basketball SA are agreeable. Stage 1 will focus on governance and safety baselines, WHS audit, hazard rectification and clear access rules. Stage 2, strengthen operations, manuals, maintenance cycle, standard agreement. And Stage 3, elevates the stadium, renewal of amenities, lighting, HVAC, backboards and expansion of school and wellbeing programs. This plan gives Council confidence and gives the community continuity. We respectfully ask for your endorsement of STBA as a preferred head leasee. We're ready to sit with Council to work through terms and develop a clear shared transition plan. This is about partnership, STBA, Council and our governing body working together to safeguard this community asset. In closing, we feel this is our turn to show that we have the community at the centre of everything we do, our turn to step up, to take responsibility and to create an environment that truly reflects the heart of the South. Basketball's growing, nationally, statewide and right here. Let's ensure our community does not continue to miss out. Let's create something that our young people can be proud of. Let's do it together. Thanks, guys. We welcome all your questions. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'll open up for questions, knowing that we don't have a decision to make this evening, so keep that in mind. Councillor Dew. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to make that work. Yep, you have to go.
Thank you for spending time with us tonight and all the success the club's been experiencing lately. Congratulations. We've been doing a lot of talking within Council about probably in a way moving away a little bit from exclusive use in that it's a community facility and it would be great to see people using it outside of the hours that you need to use it. So I wondered about how you might intend to build partnerships, or I know you've got if you could just elaborate on that, that'd be awesome. Wait till it's red. Oh, do I need to turn mine
You
off?
might need to turn yours off. Sorry, everyone.
Thank you. Great question. In my full-time work, I'm in education. A challenge that we have with opening it to the community is that the facilities aren't quite up to standard. So as a school, we can't bring schools in because there's no toilets, for example, for staff and students to be separated. So moving forward, absolutely, we'd love to be a community, a hub where during the day we can, but just right now it's not air conditioned, so the facilities aren't quite where they need to be to have community groups.
Thank you. And I also wondered about other, so I'm a bit naive, but other district clubs and the arrangements that they might have. Are there others that also have head leasee or own the facility?
There's 10 district clubs that we have in Adelaide, in SA. There's varying. So we know that some clubs have Basketball SA as the head lessee, and the clubs are the sub-lessees, I guess. It seems that the trend is going towards the district clubs or the basketball clubs holding the head lease, but not everyone does at this point. Yeah.
Councillor Thamialotis.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Just a couple of questions which was only touched on in this presentation, is probably not what you're really discussing tonight, but I just wanted to talk about the sort of significant upgrades that are required at the centre, and what the club and committee vision, what's their vision and how is that going to be funded, and in the immediate, because I've been contacted about this, around the air conditioning and what thoughts around that and how that could be funded.
We have the same questions. Currently, the club we can't put in air conditioning or upgrade because it's not our facility. So we lease from BSA, which is the head lessee from council. The amount of money that we pay, which is in the documentation, sits at close to $200,000 a year for the courts, so for our club and our members to use those courts. If we had the head lease, we wouldn't be paying that. So instantly, the funding that we're paying out for the privilege of using the courts, we could reinvest.
One more question, only because I don't understand. So I wanted you to just elaborate. So, and you mentioned there was no toilets as well. So when the conversation of air conditioning comes up, you go to the head lessee, you have that conversation, and what happens with that? If you can speak to it, because I just want to understand, because it seems like a quite simple request.
Correct.
Yes, that'll be perfect. Thank you.
The conversation has been ongoing. So I've been treasurer, this is my 4th year. I believe it's been ongoing for a very long time. At the minute, all that we can do to, I guess, provide feedback. So BSA do have QR codes in the stadium to allow members and visiting members. So we're not just talking our community, we have northern suburbs teams come down and play at NBL 1 level right down to grassroots, which give feedback to BSA. I guess the disadvantage is really significant for our members because last night was 37 degrees, and so all the games are cancelled, our trainings are cancelled. Sorry. Other clubs that have air conditioning train. So we're instantly at a disadvantage once the temperature hits 36 degrees, which over summer is quite substantial. There's nothing really more that we are doing or can do except for just getting that feedback around why is it so hot in here, how can we, make sure that we're across and I guess have the same advantage as the rest of the stadiums that are air conditioned.
Councillor Fisher.
Thank you for your deputation. Just a couple of questions. You've recently received funding from the state government. Can you elaborate on that for a minute? And I have a second question.
We've received quite substantial grants this year. So the first grant that we received was through suicide prevention. When we applied for it, it was with our secretary and a committee member through female participation. We're the first sporting club that received that grant. I'm not sure if anyone else has applied, but certainly they were really keen for us to have that. So that has funded some programs with an external provider through connection, belonging. We know that suicide rates in boys is quite high. And so we were just sort of trying to bring some of the education and I guess language around how we can help and support those. The other funding that we've just recently received was a close to $20,000 for a grant for the Power of Her, so for female participation. So that's not for infrastructure, that is for programs and making sure that females are really included and feel comfortable and safe in, you know, what for us is very much a male-dominated sport at this stage. So we've got programs right from 4-year-olds moving right up to supporting female team coaches. So not necessarily female coaches, but female team coaches, and just trying to make sure that they are retained as well from playing to coaching. So all up, it's about $30,000 that we've received.
Thank you. And Councillor THAMES just touched on it briefly, but can you give us a general overview of the condition of the stadium? Toilets, flooring, air conditioning you've already talked about, that sort of thing?
So again, the condition in comparison to the other 9 district clubs of the stadium is quite run down. We have, for example, and I'm not a basketballer, so I watch and I take care of the finances, but I'll speak on behalf of the basketballers. A really simple example is we have wooden backboards on 3 of our courts. The standard in every other stadium, I believe, is glass backboards. We do have them on the NBL1 court, but they aren't up to the standard that they should be. We have toilet facilities that, from an education standpoint, so where I'm at schools, are quite uncompliant for both young children and adults to be in the same facility. We have, in basketball, quite tall people. It's not unusual to have over 6 foot people, and in our male toilets, if I'm specifically speaking, those tall people can pretty much see over into the cubicle that young boys are using as well. So from an education standpoint, it's probably a little bit concerning, but from a sporting compliance, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that it wouldn't be okay, but they're quite poor in the fact that we have had this year a little boy who was locked in because the lock just doesn't work, and the door was turned upside down and the lock was replaced on the other side, and we're hoping that that will work from now on. But, you know, we're sort of at that point where it's a little bit run down for the facilities. And, you know, like I said, if we had that head lease, we have almost instant money that we could be reinvesting if we weren't paying the court hire that we pay.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. It's really great to see you guys here and hear your plight to sort of take ownership. My question is around BSA. and how they are the head leasee. We've heard that there's a couple of maintenance, let's call them, I'll try and be diplomatic too. I'll leave that out. Look, we've been informed previously in the chamber that Basketball SA actually hire the land from the council on a peppercorn lease, which is for $1. I was wondering, do you pay lease fees to Basketball SA?
We don't pay lease fees. We pay $62.50 per hour per court for every training game that we play as part of our club. The courts are given, I guess we're afforded for our home games at no cost, but a Sunday training for all of our junior teams, domestic and district, sits at about $2,300 every Sunday. Basketball, if you're unaware, does not stop. So it's not a winter sport, it's a continual all year round. I think we have 2 weeks off of Christmas and New Year. We try and train a little bit there, but from a treasurer point of view, which is sort of where I sit, it is sometimes cheaper to use the school courts around our community, but they aren't the same size, so they're not the size that the juniors are then playing on. So it's a bit of I guess it's a disadvantage for our community because they're training on a smaller court, going to, Starplex or Lights and playing on a bigger court. But for us, it's a really tricky balance because our court hire is so high, keeping our fees where we break even. So a season is about $600 for our families per student, that's education, per player. But our families in the south probably can't afford to be paying much more because then they pay a per game fee as well, which is $16 per game every week.
Just to tease it out, I know you said that you're the treasurer.
Yeah.
So are you happy to share how much Southern Tigers would pay Basketball SA a year to hire that facility?
Yeah, it sits a little bit less this year because we've been a bit more strategic around use of that particular stadium, but it sits at about $187,000 a year.
Okay, and they're paying $1 to council for that land. All right, okay, cool. Thank you for that info. The other question I had written that the proposal was exciting and it was great to hear it. I had a conversation with someone from Basketball SA who said the model in the eastern states and other parts of Australia is generally that the Basketball Association sort of runs the competitions, whereas the clubs themselves sort of take care of the facility, exactly what your proposal is. Have you started to have conversations with Basketball SA about potentially running this facility?
Yes, we've met with the CEO Tim Brenton, and that at no point will we not partner with them because they are our governing body. I think what's exciting for them somewhat, and I'm speaking from our conversations, is that we would take on some of those sort of southern competitions. So we have mini ball where there's probably up to 25 schools come on from 3:30 to 5:30 as the grassroots. And then there's senior social competitions as well. They, from the information that we've gathered, and Gavin can step in, but sometimes it's hard to source court supervisors for BSA down at MORPHETT VALE. It's not the most nicest stadium on a really hot summer's night. So we have some of our local members who will help in that space. Domestic is an example where two of our, one committee member and another really close coach and will supervise for domestic. So I think working forward with BSA, there's lots of exciting opportunities for them as well as us.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, the concept sounds exciting. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. I really look forward to the report coming up in April.
Councillor Platten.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming in. I just want to dig in a little bit to the fees you pay a little bit more. So you talked about $187,000. If you, in best case scenario, became the head lessee, would BSA be requiring a membership fee to be part?
So for the district sort of rep level. We pay nomination fees, and they're on top of the court hire anyway. So they would, for NBL1 and the Junior District, Youth League and Senior District, there's a separate nomination fee for each team. So it works on how many teams we have in each age group. And they sit completely separate. That's literally just the court hiring.
Okay, so that's on top of.
Yeah, so we would still pay that as part of a district club.
So given that BSA would be seeing a net loss of 187,000, are they amenable to you taking over the head lease, or do they want to retain it, in your opinion?
Yeah, they haven't really said anything. I think we'd have to ask them.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
That might be a negotiation point. Councillor Davis.
Thank you so much for coming in. I can definitely talk to the need for an upgrade because over about 35 years I've been in and out of that stadium and I don't think there's been much happening there for those 35 years. And I've been down to the WAVE Stadium recently and that is pretty swanky. So my question's probably a little bit outside the scope of what you're normally going to be able to answer. As the head leasee, do you think you'd be more open to collaboration with the other sporting venues in the precinct? I'm thinking, you know, coordinating big events and coordinating car parking and stuff like that. So do you think once you're head leasee, you'll be more open or more available to that sort of support?
Thank you for your question. We already work with the sporting communities, so we're all members of the social club next door. We often hold our events there because they have air conditioning. So we had our coach's presentation there just Sunday night. We work really closely with Noarlunga United and also Sooner as well, because when they have their carnivals, they use our car park. So we sort of cordon off a tiny bit for our trainings. So those sorts of relationships we're building quite substantially already. The rugby club is a little bit further on, but we're sort of trying to broach. We do use their ovals. So, for example, on a warm summer's night, our coaches will do strength and conditioning on the ovals rather than in the stadium. So we sort of really are trying in that Wilfred Taylor sort of reserve to make sure that we are a community club. So thank you.
Councillor Dew.
Sorry, I have one more question. I wondered about the 36ers as an elite team. Sometimes we see peak bodies bleeding money from grassroots that then goes into elite sport, and I was just wondering what the structure is for basketball. Who is it? Is it 36ers? Are they a private entity or are they they're private? So this is maybe a question then for Basketball SA, but if you're injecting lots of money, what are you kind of seeing in return as clubs? Like I'm interested in their money.
The Treasurer's taking all the heavy lifting tonight. Go ahead.
I was trying to palm that one. The 36ers are private. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of our money from NBL1 as through sponsorship. I probably can't comment on the BSA. I know, NBL1 is expensive and we see some of that come back to us in our in the information. We have live streaming to KO, which then promotes our club and things. But as far as what else they do, I'm not sure. Yeah, that would be a question for them.
Thank you. There's no further questions, so you're not in estimates. You've done brilliantly. So thank you so much for answering the questions. I know they will be of great assistance to the councillors as they come to deliberate it later in the year. I'm just wondering if Mr. Olesinski is here. I didn't see him come in. Yes, he is. Excellent. So if Mr. Olesinski and Evie Kennelly, if you would like to come up to the podium over here. So we have two sets of deputations this evening. The first set for the e-bikes are really around the issues of speed and injury. You've got 4 minutes each. I don't know if you've tossed a coin or done scissors, rock, paper to see who's going to go first. And we will do the timer at the 2-minute mark so that you know that you've done 2 minutes and you've got 2 minutes to go. So who's going first? Go ahead. Let me just get that microphone on for you. Off you go.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity of presenting to you this evening. My name's Dick OLESINSKI. I'm a member of the Southport Surf Lifesaving Club. I've been a member there for over 40 years. So I suppose that establishes where I come from. My deputation this evening will share with you my personal experience with the biking fraternity, but then also with other members of our surf club community who have also not so much been injured like I was, but harassed at a very high level. I sit here tonight as a real example, I suppose, of a walking, talking example of a speeding cyclist, just obviously going too fast down Wetherall Terrace. I was heading over to the surf club for a meeting on a Saturday afternoon, 10th of January. This person, an older person actually, not a young person. We hear a lot about the e-bikes, but this person was obviously just going too fast. And he ran into me. I think he probably came off worse than me. However, his bike was the one that came off the worst because the front wheel was the shape of my left buttock. And he had to then sort of motion away with it. But personally, you know, I was very active. This has slowed me down. This is no big deal, but I just think, you know, the reason I'm here is to try to stop this sort of stuff happening. People speeding all the time, harassing people. The other examples through the surf club environment, you know, senior members, our secretary and her 2 children actually being dead set harassed by kids riding at them and then swerving, and then she's saying something and then expletives going every which way. And even my wife and her 80-year-old sister walking along, enjoying themselves on a supposed shared path between cyclists and walkers, and being absolutely abused. You know, this is, to me, a shared issue between the state government and the city of Onkaparinga. You were part of the coastal park pathway, and now it has become an issue for the community. People are now not exercising like they used to because of these absolute idiots. Yeah, I just feel, you know, from the perspective, I certainly support Councillor Wilkes' motion 11.1, and that's probably the main reason why I'm here. I saw something in the Mid-Coast Surfing Reserve that this was being discussed tonight, and I thought, well, you know, I've seen so much traffic on social media, which you may well have all seen as well, particularly the Port Noarlunga South one, and even tonight at Christie's Beach, yesterday there were 2 people harassed by these idiots on their e-bikes. So there needs to be education, dare I say it, enforcement, and a whole range of different ways of trying to mitigate this particular issue. Yeah, I really don't have much more to say, and more than happy to answer questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. We'll hear from Evie and then we'll take questions for both of you, if that's okay. Over to you, Evie.
Thank you.
Let me just get you up. There we go.
Is that working?
Yes.
Good evening, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen. I choose to speak tonight on behalf of my child and an awful accident that occurred late last year, in the hope that his experience can help to push for some much-needed legal reform around the use of e-bikes. On the evening of Tuesday, the 9th of December 2025, my son was riding his push bike along the Esplanade, thankfully wearing his helmet. His father, my husband, was walking approximately 15 metres behind him.
Ned was riding on the correct side of the footpath on the left-hand side, travelling northbound near the Trough car park. As he came round the bend, two girls riding together on one large e-bike, approaching from the opposite direction, collided with him. My partner rushed immediately to Ned's aid. The two girls apologised hastily and left the scene. Unfortunately, my partner was unable to obtain their names or their parents' contact details in the moment because Ned was bleeding heavily and I believe he was in shock. Since that evening, we've seen the same girls riding together on one bike at speed along the Esplanade, often taking sharp turns around the corner. The collision resulted in a significant head injury. My partner remained calm in a crisis and provided first aid to Ned until we got to hospital. I wasn't present at the time of the collision, and I'm not sure I would have been able to remain as calm had I witnessed what occurred. We attended Flinders Medical Centre Emergency Department, where Ned was assessed head to toe for internal injuries, skeletal trauma, and additional head trauma. Ned sustained bruising to his eye socket, scratches and abrasions around his left eye, and a deep laceration above his left eyebrow, requiring 1 internal stitch and 3 external stitches. He was diagnosed with mild concussion. As a result, Ned missed his final week of reception with his peers. It was also his birthday that week. We attempted to make a police report following the incident. However, Flinders did not enter any details of Ned's accident or assessment in his discharge summary, which we've attempted to follow up but have unfortunately been sent in circles, so a report is yet to be lodged. I'm so grateful that Ned was wearing his helmet that evening. Without it, I've no doubt his injuries could have been catastrophic. These are powerful, heavy vehicles, and I believe there needs to be greater regulation and accountability regarding their use, especially by children. I also question whether there should be a clearer legal responsibility placed on parents or guardians who purchase these bikes for their kids, given the very real risk posed to both the rider and the broader community. I'm so grateful that my son's injuries were not more devastating. No family should have to experience what we did. I sincerely hope tonight's meeting will now begin the next steps towards greater regulation and safety measures to avoid any further harm to individuals or riders. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. I'll take some questions. Do I have a question? Councillor Eaton.
Thank you both for your presentations. The issue is that, of course, it's a state government responsibility. Our community safety officers can't chase these people.
Have you got a question, Councillor?
Yeah, it's leading into that question. Do you report these incidents immediately to the police?
We didn't have the medical evidence because the discharge summary wasn't completed by Flinders. So they sent us back to Ned's GP, who removed his stitches. He was meant to follow up with Flinders, and then we heard nothing again.
I would suggest that when you make observations of these sorts of behaviour, you actually phone the police.
Thank you, Councillor.
They respond to it, and then what it does, so as you understand, it builds up the intelligence.
A question rather than
Yes.
direction, please.
So would you do that, please? Because that will get the police attention.
Councillor Wilkes.
Sure. Thank you both so much for coming in tonight. It's greatly appreciated to hear what you are experiencing, what you have experienced, and what so many people have mentioned and experienced as it's developing and it's getting some traction. Look, do you see, and I'm happy for both or either of you to ask this, do you see sort of one fix, or do we need a whole myriad of things to try and, or a whole myriad of different measures to try and attack this issue?
As I said before, you know, this is a shared pathway. Fine, we can report this to the police to build intelligence there, because the Surf Club has been involved with various social issues, which we've done that. However, I think, you know, I mentioned before about education and enforcement. This is a lot broader than just the City of Onkaparinga or the state government. You know, it's bicycle user groups, dare I say, it's parents. A lot of this gets right back to correct parenting. You know, there was a group of youths that were involved with the motorcycle club. So, you know, all of a sudden they've got these hot e-cycle bikes. They're the in thing. So, yeah, to me, it should be a lot broader than just two levels of government.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes.
Sure. Look, you've both described incidences that have happened. Was there any way to identify those vehicles, well, the e-bikes, and well, the vehicles or e-bikes that actually hit you and were involved in those incidences, apart from the people on the bike?
At the time of the collision, but my partner he would be able to identify, yeah. It's a huge bike, it's like got big fat tyres and it looks almost like a motorcycle, but it's an e-bike. So yeah, two girls on the back of it that were probably 12 years old, so carries quite a heavy weight. Yeah, I think it would be able to be identified quite easily, yeah.
Councillor Themilotis.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for your presentation. I just want to understand what you expect from council and what council should be doing in this space, in your opinion. But to both. Thank you.
As I referred to again, the coastal pathway, council put a lot of money into that as the state government. So I'd like to think that as a council, you know, the gentleman in the corner there, Moisey and the guys got a wonderful recognition tonight for what they do, and I certainly know what Darren Moyes does from a community safety perspective. You know, you're leading the way there, so this is just another element of that to I would suggest, facilitate action. You know, this is a local issue on your pathway, our pathway.
Thank you. Evie, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I echo that as well, because if we can't come here and speak on these issues, where are we going to get the leverage as, you know, everyday individuals to have this actioned or feel a bit more protected or lifted to a higher level if it's not happening within local governing council?
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Oh, that was quick. Thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it. I'm really sorry your son was hurt as well. Have you taken it to your local state member? Have you met with any local state member about this at all? No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your deputation. Appreciate that, and we'll call up CARISSA and LINDSEY next. Up you come, ladies. So CARISSA HUBRECHSEN and LINDSEY GULLY, they are also deputising on the e-bike safety and some of their experiences around antisocial behaviour. And have you worked out who's going first? Go ahead. I will just make, if you press your button there at the front. Thank you. Off you go. And introduce yourself. So
yeah, hi, I'm LINDSEY GULLY. I'm also from Southport and I live right near the Esplanade. I had a personal experience, and listening to the other deputies' experience, I sent a shiver down my spine because it was actually, I think, the same girls on the bike. So one day I was walking, and I normally take my 4-year-old son with me, but this day I decided not to. I was walking my dog, and I was also on the correct side of the path, and it was a blind corner, and they came around and just absolutely nearly missed me. They were probably going about 50 kilometres an hour, and there was 3 of them on the bike. And if my son had been there, standing next to me, he definitely would have been hit. And I would dare say that it would have been a fatal incident. It is hard to report because they were just gone instantly. And also in regards to calling the police, every time I see an illegal e-bike, I call the Christie's Beach police station, and I've yet to had the call answered. So you can call the police, but they're obviously understaffed. I haven't had a call answered, and I've also seen police, because I live right next to the Esplanade, driving past kids on these bikes going at speed and continuing past and not doing anything. But anyway, basically now the Esplanade to me is unusable for my kid. I'm never going to walk him there again. And I think a lot of the public feel the same. So I've gone out and gotten some first-hand accounts from people's, but this is the general gist. Teenagers are riding 40 to 60 kilometres along the Esplanade. Now, I've been driving my car and I've been going 50 or in other areas 60, and they are keeping pace with me, if not going faster. And I see this every day, multiple times a day. It's constant. It's basically a racetrack. 5 or 8 riding abreast, so there's many of them. Some of them aren't even pedalling. Drag racing cars swerving across lanes. When asked to slow down, they'll give you a mouthful to anybody, elderly, people with prams and things like that. Let's have a look. So it's not just behaviour, it's also neuroscience. The teenage brain is not fully developed. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for impulse control, risk assessment, judgment and long-term consequences of evaluation, continues to develop to the mid-20s. Meanwhile, the limbic system, the emotional and reward centre of the brain, is highly active during adolescence. This imbalance means teenagers are biologically more prone to sensation-seeking, thrill-seeking, risk-taking behaviour and peer influence behaviour. During adolescence, the brain undergoes major synaptic pruning and rewiring. Neutral pathways connected to reward and peer approval are strengthened. In group settings, this dramatically increases risk-taking behaviour. Now, combine underdeveloped risk assessment system, strong peer influence and high-powered motorised devices capable of serious speed, the risk greatly multiplies. Shared pathways are not racetracks. They are designed for walkers, prams, toddlers, mobility aids and recreational cyclists travelling at safe speeds. Let's have a look. So the injuries across Australia are rising. I know a nurse who is just seeing a huge increase in e-bike injuries, like really serious injuries. So I'm running out of time here. I just wanted to say, if a fatal collision occurred tomorrow on the Esplanade, these questions would not be theoretical. If an under-16 rider causes great bodily harm, permanent disability or a fatality, who is legally responsible?
And I'll stop you there and we'll with that question and move on to your co-deputy. Off you go. Yeah, thanks, Carissa.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. My name is CARISSA HUBRECHSEN and I've lived in the area, the Onkaparinga Council area for around 30 years. I've also lived internationally and in other parts of Adelaide. I am going to discuss my observations of several incidences that I've witnessed, and then I'm going to, and I certainly do understand that it's not council's actions to solve the problem fully. And yes, I have reported incidences to the police, not to emergency police, but the 13344 number, which seems to get through, and they can bring cars into the area. I believe, and a little bit later I'll go through and discuss perhaps what the council can do to help the situation if the police can't catch perpetrators. So I'm here to discuss the dangerous incidences I've personally observed of children and adults in our Onkaparinga Council area using their electronic bikes, yes, e-bikes, but also motorised bikes and unregistered trail bikes on roads and community footpaths at unsafe and illegal speeds. Sometimes riders are not wearing a helmet. Also unsafe behaviours like burnouts in shopping mall entrance foyers and gangs of up to 20 young people doing wheelies with their e-bikes and motorised bikes and trail bikes in the middle of roads with other cars around, mainly along the Esplanade and Commercial Road in the Seaford region. I've witnessed children under 16 riding motorised bikes at speeds over 60 kilometres an hour in the centre of Commercial Road, also around Seaford Meadows where I walk my dog. I've also seen adults, likely parents of children, riding double on e-bikes without helmets behind their kids, having a ball. Also young teenage girls riding double on e-bikes, 10 at night, wearing just a bikini without footwear, travelling at huge speed and playing chicken with cars crossing main roads. I've also, and yes, I have reported this to the police. I have also experienced young teens riding their double e-bikes, weaving between walkers quickly at fast speed along our bike paths, including the new boardwalk at Port Wollonga and Christie's Beach. I observed near misses with walks and dogs. I felt intimidated by being confronted by a large group of boys on their e-bikes when I've asked them to stop this behaviour. Fortunately, they've not yet verbally or physically abused me, unlike others have experienced. Also, as a bike rider myself, I've come across young men riding unregistered motorbikes, trail bikes, along the Southern Expressway bike path at huge speeds, not stopping at intersections, some not wearing a helmet. This is an attitude problem that the council could possibly intervene with. I'm raising these concerns for the aim of keeping our community safe, including the safety of people riding e-bikes, motorised bikes, including trail bikes, as well as other users of footpaths and roads. My offer of solution is for council to help activate further police presence, increase security at shopping malls. I was at the Seaford shopping mall yesterday, and apparently only one security guard is there at one time, and they are often complaining about that. They need further assistance. Further promoting the laws around use of e-bikes and motorised bikes for clarification for young people under 18 and their parents and other adults. This could include a brochure, signage clarifying the laws. Develop and implement e-bike, bike and trail bike safety programs in our local schools, ensuring all trail bikes and motorbikes are registered for use on public roads, ensuring only people 16 years and older who have a motorbike licence are driving trail bikes and motorised bikes on roads. Also consider constructing a community bike park where these types of bikes can be used for recreational use safely. The benefit of these actions will increase safety of our community and also create a more positive reputation of the Onkaparinga Council area. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you so much. Questions? Councillor Wilkes?
I would just like to thank you for coming this evening.
Oh, sorry, hang on. I'm just trying to get this to go. Can you overrule that? Apologies.
Just wanted to ask so thank you so much for coming in tonight, Lindsay. You were one of the first people to contact me via email and brought sort of an avalanche of different community voices and members onto this platform. We're here tonight. Look, I just wanted to ask if you've seen the motion that is before us tonight and, do you support it?
Yes. Thank you. Any further questions? I'll just thank you both for coming this evening. Really appreciate it, and I'll support the councillors in their deliberations this evening.
Yeah, can I just say one more thing quickly?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, because I didn't get to my point, just that I would like to see anything with a motor off shared pathways. That's my only real thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thank you, ladies. Our next two deputations come together, and this is for item 11.4. Alex Fors and Gary Noble, are you up? Here we go. Here they come. Thank you. I think you're in an excellent position because you've seen how this is all working this evening, so you're very welcome. Good to see you. Who's going first? Excellent. Could you press your button and we'll see. Oh, I think it should be working. There we go. Yes, go ahead.
All right. Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. My name is Alex Fors and I'm a local business owner on Beach Road, speaking on behalf of my business and neighbouring traders regarding the Beachside Food and Wine Festival. I want to begin by saying I support this event and I want it to succeed, and I actively encourage customers to attend each year. Tonight I'm speaking about three issues. Poor communication from Council, the failure to properly carry out special Council direction, and the financial harm this has caused to local businesses. Council initially emailed businesses about the event, advising that patrons would continue to have access to surrounding shops. A map was included, but it did not show fencing, entry points or exits. Based on that information, we reasonably believed customer access would remain available. We later received a road closure notice that did not list Clement Terrace as closed. However, 2 weeks before the event, I checked Council's website and found a different map showing event entry points, and Clement Terrace had none. These documents contradicted each other. Knowing restricted access would significantly impact trade, I contacted the event officer by phone and followed up by email, which received no response. After escalation through Councillor Greta Wilkes, I was advised that adding an entry would be too expensive and that the liquor licence could not be amended in time. A special council meeting was then held, when councillors directed council to provide an entryway at Clement Terrace subject to liquor licence approval. Despite earlier claims, the cost was minimal and the liquor licence amendment was approved within days. However, businesses were never contacted to confirm whether the entry would proceed. Without certainty, we could not plan staffing, stock or trading hours. Communication failure extended beyond our businesses. Of the 44 businesses within the impacted area, 18 have told us that they received no communication beyond a road closure letter. On the day of the event, Clement Terrace did not function as a genuine entrance. From outside, fencing, a steel barricade and a large no entry sign created the appearance of closure. From inside the event entry was hidden behind lawn games and seating, with no signage or staff. In contrast, the other entrances were clearly visible, staffed, signed and predominantly marked. Customers struggled to find access, many believed the street was closed and left. Even regular customers later told us they could not work out how to reach our business. The impact was significant. Some businesses closed entirely, others cancelled appointments or delayed work. Losses ran into thousands of dollars while businesses still carried wages, rent, utilities and unsold stock. This harm was avoidable. It resulted from poor communication from a council direction not being implemented in a practical and visible way. When council gives direction, businesses expect it to be carried out effectively. We are asking council to review what went wrong with planning and communication for this event, identify how council decisions impact local businesses, establish clear engagement requirements when events affect business access, provide early, accurate written information about road closure and customer access, confirm access arrangements with affected businesses before future events proceed. The goal is simple: learn from this event and prevent avoidable harm to local businesses in the future. Thank you.
Well done. Take a big breath. Garry, let me see if we can get this going.
Good evening, everybody, Mayor and Councillors. My name is Garry. I'm the co-owner of Double Drop Espresso near Clement Terrace. I support community events, and I want events like Beachside Food and Wine Festival to continue. I'm here to explain what the event design and communication failures meant for our business on the operating ground. We did receive emails months in advance. Those emails were high level, informal, lacking detail. They gave the impression that the footpath access past our business would continue. Businesses outside the zone would remain connected to the pedestrian flow. We were not told Beach Road would be sealed off to pedestrians moving past our business. The Macaron bar raised concerns. Councillor Gretel escalated those concerns, and we appreciate that support. We were told the footpath access would stay open until 3:30 p.m. In reality, fencing went up several hours earlier. Once fencing went up, customers could not easily reach us. Foot traffic dropped immediately. Trade slowed to a crawl. At times, we made less than a couple of coffees per hour. It's not a slow day. That is not a slow day. That is an isolated business. From inside the event, Clement Terrace did not look like an entry. It looked like a continuous fence line. Lawn games, seating were placed directly in front of it. There was no signage, branding, no visual clues, no indication that it was an access point. No responsible person would think that it was an entry or an exit. From outside the event, customers walked up to the barricade, paused, walked away. Some walked through our car park trying to find another entrance. Some jumped the fence. Confusion only reduced once a visible queue formed. That is not an acceptable access design. No signage showing our car park was open, customers assumed we were closed. In addition, event equipment was placed in our car park, vehicles were blocked in, several generators were placed in our car park. The generators were noisy, visually intrusive, inappropriate for the cafe. We asked for the generators to be moved from our premise. We were told no and speak to the event organisers. We could not do this because we were not provided with any of the organisers' details. These factors further discouraged customers. We roster staff based on expected trade. When trade collapses, staff still must be paid, rent still must be paid, utilities still must be paid, suppliers still must be paid. Lost revenue becomes pressure that small businesses must absorb. What this shows, this was not a single mistake, it was a combination of misleading information and communication breakdown. Late access changes, poor entry design. The outcome was predictable. I support the notice of motion. We are not asking council to stop running events. We are asking council to communicate clearly, early, designed access that works in practice and learn from what happened, so future events can succeed without isolating surrounding businesses. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you very much, Gary. I'll now call for questions. Councillor Platten. I'm trying to give you this. Yeah, let me...
Thank you very much for your deputation. When it comes to small business, what form of communication would be best for you?
Given if it's an event and in that scenario again, the best form of contact is probably direct contact. So like going into the business formally first and saying, hey, look, this is happening and can we get your email? Can we keep you in the loop and go forward from there?
Thank you.
Davis.
Thanks so much for coming in. I've got two questions. How many emails do you receive from council in a year?
So I get quite a few. I mean, like I get news and then I get, I guess I've received this one about the events. So from my knowledge, probably one a month, maybe, yeah.
Okay. And my other question, with your heightened concern around the event and knowing that we'd come in, we'd had the special meeting, did you contact council in between it all to find out with your planning for the event that you, for planning around the event for you guys, did you ring the council between the special meeting and the event to check what the outcome was at all?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Wilkes.
Thank you both for coming in tonight. I know you guys are small business owners and, you know, we absolutely love them. We celebrate you with our Onkaparinga Business Awards and got some finalists and winners here. I want to ask you, Gary, first, please, what contact did you have with council before the event?
So the only contact that we had was...
Gary, would you mind popping...
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all right.
The only contact that we had prior to the event was 3 months prior, which was our first email, which was just a group email in a general state of this was looking at happening.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. I want to know, did your customers have access to the parks or car parks in front of your business? So just to set the scene so everyone knows, Beach Road obviously is the main road. Occasionally the businesses have a car park in front. Obviously that's accessible from Beach Road, but the shop front is set behind those car parks. So I just wanted to ask you, did your customers have access to those car parks in front of you on the day?
Up until a point in time, which was about 10:30.
Okay, did you see a fluctuation in your business revenue from that 10:30 in the morning until And after that?
Yeah, so we dropped as pretty much from 11 a.m. we dropped to doing one sale an hour.
Wow. Okay. My last question for you, Gary, is did you feel included in the festival?
No.
Okay.
Councillor G?
Oh, I still have more questions, sorry.
I thought you said last question.
For
last
Gary.
question for Gary. Apologies.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for coming in again tonight. Look, Alex, my question is, when did you, so obviously, you know, the council have all been informed, there was an email sent that said you would have footpath access to the event. When that was sent on October 17th, when were you aware that you were not going to have footpath access to the event?
So we became aware when we called the event coordinator probably about, I think it was about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks prior, and that was only accidental that we found that out by marrying up the road closure notice saying that it would be open on Clement Terrace and then the council map. So those two together made a couple of us go, oh, what's going on here? Is there an entrance here? Is there not an entrance? Which is when I first contacted the event coordinators.
And just to clarify, that's when you realised you didn't have footpath access to the event, like the email stated?
Yes, that's right. In that conversation that I had with the coordinators, that is when they said that there was no footpath access where people could directly access the event to my business, from my business to the event.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to hear that. So when you found that out and you contacted I know you contacted council, and then when they wouldn't, you contacted council administration, how many businesses were you acting on behalf of, or how many did you feel you were acting on behalf of when you were trying to get clarity about Clement Terrace and the footpath access that was stated by administration?
So initially it was just 7 in that affected area where we realised that it was all blocked off.
How many, sorry?
Sorry?
How many businesses?
Oh, sorry, what was the question?
How many businesses were you acting on behalf of, or was it just for you when you contacted council about the footpath access?
When I first contacted the council, it was Double Drop, the hair salon, Beatbox, and Paradise City. So that was 5 in total, including my own. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, cool. Thank you. And then after, actually, I might see if there's other questions.
Councillor Chu.
Thanks for providing your deputation tonight. I first of all wondered, obviously this was the first year that we've extended up Beach Road, and I wondered what the impact has been in years gone by, and if you've had higher numbers of people, patrons, or if it's been low, or what it's looked like for you.
Yes, so in the past, the event has been down the bottom of Beach Road, and so we haven't really experienced those road closures before. And previously there hasn't really been an issue, so I heavily promote the event every year, and in the lead up I will ask people, are you coming down, like, you know, this is on, and quite often what we will experience is people saying, look, we avoid the area, it's really a big drinking event. So my regular customers will sometimes, we'll see a decline in that, and then we'll have to rely on the traffic that is in the area. And luckily, we have been able to make it up to a point where we can still afford to, you know, survive for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything to that?
Sorry,
yes. Mayor.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. I didn't have to tell you. There we go. Let's see if I can. Could you mind just putting your microphone off, though, Councillor Ju, just for a second, so I can enable Gary to speak? Go ahead.
So last year we opened, and we had just got our liquor licence as well, so we had a cocktail event on as well at that same point in time. So we found it was quite beneficial, and that's why we thought when it was coming up Beach Road, because there was discussions about it coming up, it would be a great opportunity for us. But because we were excluded, we had a downturn, whereas last year we had quite a good turnout for that night.
There we go.
I wondered, last year, were you invited early at all to meet with council, to share your ideas, concerns that you might have, to be able to sort of co-plan, kind of think through what it could be?
Last year, as in like the plan for this year?
Yeah, so when council would have started planning, say October, maybe, well, I don't know their planning, so let's say August, September, October, the lead-in, were businesses at all invited to come together and meet?
Yes, so there was an initial meeting that got scheduled. I think that maybe there was a week's notice for that, and then that got postponed, I think due to illness. And then another one was scheduled with a 3 days notice at 2 p.m. during the day, which, you know, is a tough time for business owners who are micro businesses, mostly there working on the floor all the time to get there. And then that was the last that I had heard of anything to do with planning.
Okay, thank you. And I wasn't able to attend the last special council meeting, so this may have already been raised through that. But off the top of your head, how many attempts did you kind of feel were made from council to the local businesses over a period of time of the planning and the implementation of it? Was there multiple?
So there was two. There was that first one that I just mentioned, and then there was an email that was sent out with the proposed event space. In that email, it said that all businesses outside of that space, which was most of them except for the bars, then that they would still have footpath access in and out of the event, pretty much. That was it. That's the only communication that we had.
Thank you. Councillor Platten.
Thank you very much. Alex, is your business open late generally, and do you have a clientele that comes late to have macarons?
Yes, on Saturdays we are open till 8 p.m. and we're generally quite busy up until closing time.
And you haven't changed that just for the event?
No.
No. And Gary, does your liquor licence allow you to open later at your own discretion?
Yes, so we can trade up until midnight.
Thank you. Councillor Eaton.
Yep, thanks for your presentation. Would it be possible, would it help you if the fencing line was, or your businesses were actually included inside the fence line so that you attract that crowd that are visiting, because those other businesses along Beach Road, of course, they're attracting the crowd as well. So if there was a change in the line?
Yes, so ultimately, where the fences were, if the fences were including all the businesses, including into our car park, which would have included Alex as well, we would have been inside the event zone, which it would have been more beneficial for everybody.
Thank you. Councillor Yeomans.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. I wasn't able to get down to the festival. I was overseas at the time. I'm concerned what you're talking about, the access and entry and exit of the Clement Street entrance that was supposed to be there as a result of the resolution of the special council meeting on the 20th of January. So there was a resolution that there would be, the council would do their best to, in a short period of time, to make sure that patrons could go in and out at Clement Street. You gave a description before about how that eventuated. Can you, because I couldn't get down there, can you just, it was concerning what you said about it, because it didn't seem that was what we were looking to achieve.
So if you went in through the Beach Road entry or the Esplanade entries, you would see a big yellow gazebo, security, council staff, signage to say this is the entry. It had a big wide opening gap, and then if you tried to enter via Clement Terrace, you were met with white picket fencing and a steel barricade where the security guard had to physically open and close it to let you in and out. So it didn't really look like an entry. It also had a big road closure, no entry sign right out front of it with parking cones all around as well.
Thank you. There's no further questions. Thank you so much for coming this evening. I'm just wondering with the documentation that you were reading from, if you wanted to pass that along and we can include that for our staff to review as well, if that's all right. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor, I requested this. I'd like them, thank you. I appreciate what you're saying, but I did actually ask them to hand it to the meeting. So that's what I asked for. And not for any other purpose than if we've got a record, not going to be used in any other way. I'll just make sure the meeting recognises my disappointment with the failure for Councillor Wilkes to accept my ruling. Next item is item 8.1. We have the Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes. Councillor Pritchard.
Happy to move as written.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
So we had an Audit and Risk Committee meeting on the 5th of February. There was a number of items spoken about at the Audit and Risk. As per normal, we had an update on internal audit from our internal audit partners. Particularly this time they spoke about project management. Raised a couple of items in their response, specifically around the project management framework, which was out of date, and really some of the items in there around oversight of projects. Now, taking into account that the council runs over 240 projects a year, there's a fair variety in volume and size. So one of the actions is to really look at that framework to see how we can consider all different types of projects and what the best way of escalating budgets and schedules and items like that. Also had external auditors come and talk about their action plan for the year. Interestingly, they're going to have a look at the external grants and the funding and how that impacts our financials. So that's going to be something of note in the end of year external audit. What else have I got here? The action items and the minutes are in our pack. The last one I'll talk about is just, and we'll talk a bit about it with regards to carry forwards and the capital renewal spend. The Audit and Risk Committee has highlighted in the notes around the carry forwards, and that's largely to do with the $16 million as the spend up to sort of end of BR2 on a $54 million capital budget. So just concerning as to how that second half of the year looks for those.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wilkes. Oh, I have a seconder. Councillor Yeomans.
Yeah, I'll just second it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Do you wish to speak to the item? Councillor Pritchard, do you wish to close? I'll put the item. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, everyone. That was a busy meeting by the looks of it. We're now up to item 9.1. This section of the meeting is for reports from the officers. So for those of you who are following electronically, we're up to page 45. This is the final update report for council-owned land located at the allotment 461 Thames Drive, Reynellah. Councillor Greaves.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to move as written.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Pritchard.
Happy to second.
Do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Any questions? Debate, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, everyone. 9.2, our item regarding the submission to the consultation for the proposed dog and cat management amendment regulation. This refers to breeder reforms. I'm just checking if there are any updates.
The only update was the informal questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I certainly support our submission. I think it's important that we still continue to raise that issue in respect to stray cats or roaming cats. And really there is a need for the state government to actually bring in uniform legislation across the state. Perfectly, the example in the questions that came up about the costs and difficulties with councils actually bringing in bylaws, it is far better. They've got the responsibility, they've got the Department of Environment and Water and those sorts of areas, and they should clearly be bringing in that legislation, and we need to advocate that as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Platten, a question or seconding?
Happy to second.
Thank you.
And I'll speak to it if I can.
Go ahead.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I appreciate that we have an advocacy piece around a statewide cat strategy. I think we need to be very vocal about this. I certainly think in this year coming, our community is going to be vocal about it. It's a catastrophe as far as I'm concerned. The ecological damage that stray and unhoused cats have on our community is disastrous, and something needs to be done about it. And quite frankly, I'm just going to keep banging on about it because it's disgraceful.
Councillor, can you keep to the essence?
Yep.
Thank
We
you.
need to do something about cats.
Thank you. Councillor Dew, a question or debate?
A question, thank
Go
you.
ahead.
I recall for the last few years when we've been talking about cat management that a concern has been raised around the RSPCA being at capacity, and I wondered what the state, if you're aware of what's being done to consider or the exploration of the ramification of cat containment and what, yeah.
Can you take that question?
And maybe also I'm interested to know if the RSPCA is still at capacity, if they're taking cats and even dogs.
Through the Mayor. So yes, look, the RSPCA is at capacity at the moment, and they're struggling to receive both dogs and cats. And look, I'm not sure whether there's been any work done to try to quantify the impact of potentially a containment law, but I think there is an expectation that it will drive an increase in surrender rates and potentially an increase in trapped cats. And there's a very real dilemma of where those cats will be detained, how they'll be rehomed, or whether or not they'll be euthanased.
Councillor Pritchard, question, debate?
Question, thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Just with regards to this proposal to cap the contribution at 10%, do we know if other councils are supportive of this arrangement, and a secondary part of that is that being proposed to the LGA as an advocacy piece through the LGA as well?
Yes, through the Mayor. Absolutely, we've put this position to the LGA, and the LGA is supportive, and we've put this position to a lot of other metropolitan councils, and I believe that they will be advocating in a similar vein.
Thank you. Councillor Eaton, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 9.3. So that is, where are we up to here? This is page 59, and this is the quarterly finance for budget review 2. Councillor Pritchard.
Happy to move as written.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
I'll quickly speak.
Thank you.
Obviously, the budget review 2 is forecasting a lower surplus than originally currently approved. Still a surplus though, which is the most important part, and the reduction in the surplus is primarily due to the timing of projects. So as we've all been educated over the last couple of years, we get money in advance from the federal government or from state government for a number of projects. We can't recognise that until we do that component of the project. And so a number of these projects are moving into next year. So that $2.5 million, whilst it's coming out of this year's surplus, will assist next year's budget.
Thank you.
Sorry, I've got a few more points. Part of that, one of those is the Noarlunga Aquatic Centre is behind in its spending. We have $1.5 million of the employee savings target has been achieved so far, which is great. There is a new graph on borrowings, which is in page 77 of the agenda, which has sort of been one of the things that the Audit and Risk Committee have looked at and trying to unpack borrowings for everyone. What we're looking at here is that the borrowings have been lower so far this year, which is excellent. It's $872,000 of less interest we've paid on that borrowings. Whilst the underlying debt is still there, given the timing of the financial assistance grants, there's always going to be that component which comes in and reduces the underlying debt down to the actual borrowings. There has been a rate increase recently proposed. This hasn't impacted this budget review as yet. What we did find was that the LGA finances provided us with a rate reduction just before the rate rise. So the rate rise is slightly more than the reduction we got. So there will be an impact, but it's sort of being offset by that lower borrowings at this stage.
Thank you. Councillor Greaves.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to second. I won't follow that. I think there were a few questions from elected members on notice that I think have unpacked some of the detail and certainly appreciate those.
Thank you. Any further questions? No. Councillor Pritchard, did you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 9.4, this is the resource prioritisation document. This is which we had a very extensive elected member session on. Councillor Eaton.
It's certainly a very comprehensive document, sets the criteria, and it's there available for the community to have a look at to see how we're prioritising jobs.
And you're moving the motion?
Yes, and I'm moving the motion. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkes.
I will second the motion and move into a slight debate, please.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I echo Councillor Eaton's comments that this document is, it's vital. It sets the direction and obviously the prioritisation of our projects. I also find that this document is one of our most complex documents, apart from the budget itself. So, I think when the community come to us or Mid-Coast residents come and ask and they do wonder how we scale projects, I think I would love to see how we could encapsulate, I think it was like 150 plus pages of how we schedule our priorities for our projects. I'd love to try and decipher that for them to get it out there, because I just wanted to say that, yeah, it is a really important document, and it's great that we give the detail to the projects that deserve it through the scaling system.
Thank you. Councillor Yeomans, a question or debate?
Just a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
Just before I start with the questions, there's probably a bit of an oversight. Look, on page 131, there's a reference to the 2024 SAMP, but on page 155, there's a reference to the 2021 SAMP. That was the previous one, so that's just a bit of an oversight.
Thank you.
In relation, on page 144, there's discussion or there's a comment about unweighted scores, right down the bottom there, on the major projects document. Just wondering
where those last three dot points are?
Yeah, just wondering what they are. What's an unweighted score?
Are you happy to answer that question?
144?
Yeah. Those three down here. Just an explanation of what an unweighted score is.
Yeah.
Correct.
Please.
Okay.
Because there's a comment before, the strategy for considering the allocation of funds for major projects is based on Council's standard weighted project scoring process, including the community vision, alignment and risk, which is fine. Unweighted scores are based on the following criteria. So I'm just wondering what an unweighted score is.
Through the Mayor, we'll need to take that question on notice and come back to you tomorrow on that one.
All right, thank you. And just the last question, if I can. Page 154, the plant and fleet resource prioritisation document. There's initial talk about having 550 fleets, and there's a target where we're looking to have our fleets, 80% of our fleet to be electric or hydrogen by 2030, which is a high target, I guess. My question is, and I don't expect you to answer it now, but is it possible that we can be provided with an update or a status and importantly the costs that will be required to meet this target? In other words, how
like
are we
a table of where we're up to,
how are we
and
tracking on
how we're
all
tracking
that?
against the
I don't want us
roadmap.
to break the bank to achieve that. If we
Yeah,
need to do
sure.
something to adjust that target, that's fine. But if I can just sort of see how we're going with all that.
Do you want to take that?
Yeah, through the mayor, we'll take that on notice.
Okay, thank you. Is that okay? Great, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Eaton, just to close. Oh, sorry, Councillor Davis, did you have a question?
I just remember from the last resource prioritisation, there was a map that we could access about where they were and when they were coming up. Do you think that's going to come back? I loved that. Do you think there's going to be anything like that again?
I'm just looking at one of our officers. Is this something that we can consider?
Yeah, through the Mayor. So as part of the next step, we'll have member workshops on PCW allocations, and we've discussed providing some maps and visuals and information by wards. We're happy to support with that again this year.
Councillor Davis is like me. We love a good map. Councillor Dew.
Matt Buckle and I talk about this often, but I think it's a fantastic document. I guess I get concerned a little bit about...
A question or debate?
Oh, debate. I'm definitely debating. The rigidity a little bit of it, and I understand across a large council there needs to be formula behind, like method behind decision making, but I just wonder where the opportunities are. I think about the previous SAMP and the limitations that when community raise issues like requiring shade over playgrounds, it makes absolute logical sense, but it actually didn't translate from using the this document, like the resource prioritisation documents. It didn't, I guess, escalate that as a top priority, and I know that that's because of a number of different strategies, but I just wonder how staff's expertise and the anecdotal information can actually also be part of this to then for directors and leaders within the organisation to be able to make decisions rather than it come to the chamber. And an example of that is around the Moana Surf Life Saving Club, where elected members are having to set the direction, which is absolutely fine, but I think it makes good logical sense in our staff. I trust that our staff would also know that operationally it's unsafe, their current scenario, so they also should be able to make decisions within their leadership sphere on the priority of that for our local community, and that it shouldn't just be about us as elected members. Hope that makes sense.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Eaton, did you wish to close debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Can I just check that again? There were still hands hanging. All those in favour? Thank you. Against? Thank you. It's now at 8:30, so I'm just checking if we are willing to have a break now. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Wilkes, moving that? Yep. A seconder? Councillor Greaves. All those in favour? I will ring the bells in 10 minutes from now. Thank you. Here we go. We're returning to our meeting. We're up to item 9.5. We have a quorum, so if we could continue. Page 219. The item is the federal inquiry into local government funding and fiscal sustainability. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, I'm certainly prepared to
move that.
To move this motion.
Thank you.
It does provide the details. I mean, one thing you've got to realise that local government only collects 3% of the taxes in Australia. The rest is state and federal government. And one example is stamp duty. So somebody buys a house for about 1.3 million in Flagstaff Hill, and they're paying $72,000 in stamp duty. So clearly, as I was saying, it identifies those shortcomings we've got. We do only, as I said, we do rely on that support from the other two tiers of government through grants and what have you. People often say that, look, it's roads, rubbish and rates for councils, that's right. But on the rubbish side of things, we do pick up all that stuff that the state and federal government want to offload. They might fund it to start with, but then they stop the funding and we've got to find the funds to do that. But certainly it's a good submission. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pritchard. A question?
Happy to second.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is a really important piece of obviously a really important submission. I think it's great that this is sort of moved onto the agenda, not just our agenda, but the fact that it's out there being asked about, because there has been a lot of talk about the amount of federal funding for local governments in the last couple of years, and so to have actually reached the stage of an inquiry that we're submitting to is really important for us. I particularly like in the letter the reference to the damage the freeze did. That was over a decade ago, but as we all know about compounding interest, that's had a significant impact. And also the attempt to try and get the recognition of that not every council's the same, and we all know that Onkaparinga's a peri-urban council, which comes with its own challenges, and I think that that's an important inclusion in the letter, that we're trying to raise the awareness around these items, because it's really important as to the way the funding we receive, noting that the federal grant money is often linked to projects, and so we're using our rate revenue to sort of carry on the operations of our council, but if we want to do any of our projects, renewal or new and significant, then we're heavily reliant on this.
Thank you. Councillor Thamialotis.
Yes.
A question?
Some debate, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you. What I've always found quite concerning with this council, and it's probably with the majority of councils, is that we are heavily reliant on rates to survive. So 75% of our income, as per this report, is from rates. And our residents, quite simply, they can't tighten their belts anymore and pay any increased rates. It's just too hard for them. But with an ageing population, with a growing population, and with growing needs in our community, our residents, more than often than not, turn to local government for support. This report is going to send a strong message on the growing needs of our council, and that funding needs to be coming from other sources. And I'm hoping that in terms of the cost shifting mentioned by my co-councillor, that the LGA work on some really strongly put together campaigns where we're actually campaigning to state and federal government on issues that affect our residents.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher, question or debate?
Just a question, just to jog my memory. This was brought up federally or at the national conference, wasn't it, this year?
Correct.
Last year, sorry? Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Yeomans.
Just a quick debate, just highlight a couple of points from the report, if I can. I think these are really good points. Page 221, there's a comment there that while grant funding from the Australian and South Australian government remains important, it's largely tied, competitive and time limited, limiting its effectiveness in supporting ongoing service delivery, asset maintenance and long-term financial planning. So that obviously has a big impact on our internal plans, internal resourcing, allocating resources to perform local projects, and obviously that then has an impact on our communities that do have to wait sometimes their turn for their project, because we need to prioritise the funding project from the state government or the federal government, because that's obviously tied usually to election promises. And just a couple of things on page 222. Good comment, Councillor Eaton did mention it, the evolving role of local government. Councils are increasingly tasked with responsibilities beyond traditional services such as roads, waste and rates, including complex regulatory functions, social services and community wellbeing roles. Financial pressures and funding constraints. The funding capacity of many councils is under strain as service delivery obligations increase, while revenue flexibility has not kept pace, leading to concerns about councils' ability to meet community needs sustainably. So I just thought really good points that we make in those reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Eason, just to close. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. And thank you very much. Yes, indeed, Councillor Fisher, that is the motion that we put to the National Assembly, and it was carried unanimously there. Delegations 9.6. So this is page 239. Councillor Eaton.
Yes, again, I'm quite happy to move it.
Thank you.
It sets the delegations, it's explained, it's just a matter of sitting down for people to read it and understand it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one little amendment that needs to perhaps just in the report, at page 243, Next steps, once council has approved the delegations to the CEO, or the CEO may further sub-delegate officers as change he to...
She, very good point. Thank you for your eagle eye.
Even if we put it to general neutral, they.
Thank you so much. Councillor Pritchard.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak? No. Any questions? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. And we now have 9.7, which is the schedule of, which is page 337 for those of you who are using an electronic version. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Platten, thank you so much. Do you wish to speak?
No, thank you. Happy
Councillor
to move.
Greaves?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We have questions on notice. I believe they've all been answered now and circulated. We now move into the section of our meeting which is notices of motion. These items can be submitted by elected members and received before the agenda is published. So here we go, and our first one is 11.1, Councillor Wilkes.
Perfect, thank you. I would like to move the motion. Excellent, and I'll head into debate, please, noting that there's the two inclusions there from what was in the agenda that was sent out and uploaded to the website. So the ones highlighted in yellow are inclusions.
So they're the new bits? So
Inclusions.
is that
They're inclusions.
Yeah, sure, but are you happy? Is that what they are?
Yeah.
Great, off you go.
Okay, so this motion was truly brought on by community's desire and communication. It began with emails describing incidences, near misses, run-ins and worried residents contacting not just me, but several of us in the chamber. Parents concerned for their children, older residents feeling intimidated, walkers and joggers describing close calls, and downright people becoming fearful to use our shared paths, particularly along the Coast Park Trail, but also throughout the city of Onkaparinga's other trail and road networks. So what before us tonight is the result of significant work and consideration. This is now the 6th version of the wording, largely refined to ensure that our council plays a clear leadership role and advocacy role. Over the past 3 weeks, as I've been developing this motion, my knowledge of personal mobility devices and e-bikes has grown considerably. Through reviewing the legislation introduced by the Government of South Australia on April 25, 2005, examining regulatory requirements, speaking with council staff and engaging in repeated conversations with a highly engaged community, several times a day for more than 2 weeks, I've come to understand this picture far more clearly. I've taken the time to understand what legally defines an e-bike, the distinction between the compliance pedal assist e-bike and a high-powered device that in effect is an unregistered motor vehicle. I've examined what constitutes a personal mobility device under the current regulations. And through these conversations and people sharing their opinions, I've learnt something equally important. There is a genuine appreciation and reliance on these modes of transport within our community. That's right, loud and clear, it has been stated that there are two sides to this story. Retirees have spoken to me about the freedom a PMD provides, how e-bikes allow them to remain active, mobile and independent. Residents have also described them as affordable, quiet and environmentally cleaner way to move around our city. And for some, they're not recreational devices. They are essential mobility tools that have given them a sense of freedom where they've otherwise felt they would not have a chance. So please do not debate this motion as not anti-micro-mobility. It's about ensuring that innovation and accessibilities are balanced with safety, clarity and community confidence. In short, the more I communicated with the community, the more I've learnt. And the more I've learnt, the more this motion has evolved and grew to what you see in front of you. It's from a reactive response to incidents into a structured and considered call for leadership and review. I would now like to take my time to talk through the motion. One acknowledges the community concerns that we've heard tonight and also throughout the vast range of technological platforms and social media that's available for all of us to see. Number 2 is leadership through an expert panel. So secondly, this motion proposes a constructive element as a matter of priority. It asks councils to play a leadership role by bringing together a panel of experts across local government, state government and relevant NGOs and community groups, something we have done before twice, once to tackle homelessness and also domestic violence. The aim is not to inflame the issue, but to clearly identify the problems and develop a whole-of-government strategic implementation plan as a matter of priority. It's about coordination, not conflict. It recognises that issues sit across jurisdictions and it cannot be solved by council alone. Thirdly, the motion requests that the Mayor write to the state government, SAPOL and the LGA. This expresses concerns about the 10-kilometre speed limit and the restrictions that were put in place on April 25th, as I previously mentioned. Number 4 says that we request the Onkaparinga Council to actively seek contributing to any of future state-wide reviews of PMDs and e-bike regulations. It also considers potentially submitting a motion that has arisen from the suggested panel of experts meeting to be reviewed by SAROC, GARROC and the LGA board, who could include it as an LGA agenda meeting item or future LGA National General Assembly agenda. I won't continue anymore, but thank you for listening.
Councillor Platten.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to second.
Do you wish to speak?
Yeah, sure. Just briefly, this is certainly a topic that is raised with me continuously. I'm privileged to move in a number of regions in our amazing council, and it's not secluded to just the Esplanade. It's certainly an issue, I would say, council-wide. The issue is really around compliance and safety. It seems to be focused on minors on bikes. And I think this goes a long way to be leaders in talking about it. It's not alienating any groups. It's trying to bring groups together to find out how we can best tackle what seems to be a health and safety issue in our communities.
Thank you. Councillor Eaton.
Yeah, certainly it's an important issue for us. I'm just concerned in respect to the letter to the state government, considering that we go into caretaker mode on the 21st, so it's going to delay it for at least a month, or if not longer. That's the one issue. I think, we probably need to leave that letter, unfortunately, until the new state government, until the elections have occurred and a new Minister for Transport or whatever is nominated or gets the role. I was going to actually look at an alternative motion to consider running an elected members workshop as such, or information session, but involving Department of Transport, motor registration, SAPOL, the Bike Riders Association, and those people that actually gave the deputations today and other interested groups, so that they could fully inform, because that way you're actually informing those agencies that have got a responsibility for the enforcement. I think also in any public statements at all, we need to reinforce that if you're observing that sort of behaviour, 131444 is the number to ring, not the Christie's Beach Police Station. No, 131444, because that gets recorded properly. If it's an urgent incident, it's 000. And of course, if it's a continuous event that's causing public safety, Crime Stoppers. And then all that material gets recorded, and then that will result in, hopefully, proactive police strategies to prevent it. The last thing is that community safety officers do not have the legislative powers to do it, and we don't want it, because of the implications for them. Even having to chase vehicles means a whole lot of driver training and a whole range of other things that have got to go, and risks, and then the potential for deaths in custody, investigations and those sorts of things. So I think we just need to be mindful of the date at the time of that letter goes, that's all.
Thank you. Councillor Themialotis.
Questions, please.
Go ahead.
Can I ask council staff, are all pathways in our city considered shared use pathways? Or
someone-
are they designated?
Is there someone who can help us with the answer to that question? I will. It looks like that someone will be able to help us with that
Love
question.
a good expert.
Through the Mayor, so they're not defined as shared use pathways, a combination of footpaths, but also shared use paths.
Can I seek some advice then on people who are using the illegal motorised bikes on pathways? And what role does council play in that? Because this only talks about shared use pathways. And if they're designated, pathways in my ward would not come under this.
Yeah, through the Mayor, so illegal vehicles are illegal, so therefore they become a police matter that need to be reported and policed.
Can I just scroll
down?
back up to...
Sorry,
I just want to unpack number 2, because number 2 is the one where...
There we go. The one in yellow?
Yeah, the one in yellow, thank you.
Ahead.
Can I seek some advice, I'm not sure who from, around time frame, delivery, and who determines an expert?
So at the moment, that's not prescribed in the motion. But
who
I'm
would
wondering how would we normally do that?
How does that get determined?
Okay. How do you want to have a go at that?
Through the Mayor, so the NOM as presented at the moment refers to SAPOL, to Department of Infrastructure and Transport, to the LGA. I guess in addition to that, we'd be looking at local representative groups, so bicycle type groups, Bicycle SA and the like. So we haven't turned our mind fully to this. It's not currently an endorsed position or resolution, but they're the types of groups we look to get together for the conversation.
And can I understand, either from staff or from the mover, around time frames with this? I'm not too concerned about caretaker. We could still send a letter. There's things we can still do. But just around timeframes of some of the other actions in this motion.
We might leave that for the closing debate. That might be provided there.
I'll stop my questions there.
Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor. Question to staff. Just to our relationship with SAPOL in relation to these incidents, have we got records of how many have been reported to us? Have we taken any action? Have we observed any, have our rangers observed any of this behaviour? And if so, what have they done?
I'll just see if we're in a position to answer that. We might need to take it on notice, I think.
Yeah.
And, I think we'll take it on notice. Unless, Ian, thank you.
Through the Chair, I can only add what was in the answers provided through the informal questions. And I understand that information was understood from a quick search of our record system. But remembering that we're not the regulatory agency, and so the types of inquiries or reports that we receive can come into kind of very different parts of the organisation. Some might go to traffic, some might come to the community safety, some might come as a piece of correspondence with really nowhere to send it.
Councillor, thank you. Councillor Davis.
Debate.
Go ahead.
I do support us being involved in this conversation, but I don't think I support us actually in that leadership space. I think it's more similar to the dog and cat management, that we need to be part of an advocacy and it needs to be led by state. I'm a bit concerned that residents haven't been directed to the correct authorities and they haven't been reporting it. I think a deputation here is one thing, but I think reporting it to the authority so that they can collect that information and have that information so they can build their advocacy in that space. And then they'll have the reporting effectively so that they can start making those changes and then we can get on board with the advocating.
Councillor Dew, question or debate?
I'll go into debate, please.
Go ahead.
I guess when I heard the deputies today, it actually triggered in my mind that this issue is actually close to home. My mum was working for council at the time and went for a walk on our lunch break and was bowled over by a cyclist and had to have a hip replacement and has had ongoing issues ever since. And so it impacts layers and layers of people when these kind of issues happen. And I turned to Councillor Yeomans before and said, from his policing days, has there been other issues like the motorcycle, the vehicles, like we see with AI and things like that, where legislation isn't keeping up and we're having to, I guess, scurry to try and get ahead of it. And this just looks like another example of that. I appreciate the motion, and like Councillor Wilkes and Councillor Platten and probably everyone here have been swamped over the last probably 12 months. It's escalated in terms of people reaching out, unsure what to do, apart from contacting the police, of course. My issue, my questions, and I was hoping Councillor Wilkes might be able to bring it up in rounding it up, but item 2 as well, to me it reads as if we are sort of holding a whole of government strategic implementation plan as the backbone agency to this, and I wondered if the LGA is better placed, given it cuts across all councils as an issue. And I also just, I guess, wonder if it's actually a whole of government strategic implementation plan, or if it's sort of a group that is trying to provide a provocation or some, I guess, thinking around what's the way forward, because I'm sure the state are probably also considering this as well. So how are we, I guess, advocating up but not doing the grunt work?
Thank you, Councillor Wilkes.
Sure. Can I please ask some questions?
Go ahead.
With the permission of the mover, the seconder, can I add the word collectively to point 2? So it says there, NGO community groups to clearly identify the issue and collectively develop a whole. That was something I was supposed to add. I know I was looking at it thinking,
As the mover, seconder, happy with that?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So it just takes that ownership. The other question I wanted to, or the question I wanted to ask was, if this motion is endorsed by the council, can council staff give an indication of how long or a time frame around bringing a panel of experts together, be it the people listed in the motion?
Do you want to answer? Typically, that would be contained within the motion, I would imagine, but I'll just check how you want to deal with that.
Through the Mayor, so probably challenging for me to put a time frame on the availability of other agencies to come, and I'm not sure at what level, if we're talking about a whole of government strategic implementation plan, that's quite a scaled up proposition, so it wouldn't be the officers that we're necessarily readily available or have more regular contact with necessarily. So I would suggest it'd be closer to a June, July type time frame for us to undertake that type of work and bring something back to you that responds to the different components of the notice of motion as currently in front of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Councillor Greaves.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make an attempt at an amendment, please.
Good luck. Let's see
Okay,
how we go.
we'll see how we
Where
go.
do you want it to be?
All right. Replacing the current 2.
Hang on, let's just... Okay, so replacing 1 and 2.
So keeping number 1, replacing 2 with initiates a community conversation, bringing together a range of experts, other agencies and community groups to consider how we as a council can effectively advocate for regulatory change.
Just want to read that and just check that's what your intention is. True.
Yep, and then if you can shift down to the other highlighted section.
So delete
So delete that
one.
too, yep.
And then go down to 4.
And just take out the highlighted part, please.
Oh, delete the
So
highlighted.
keep number 4, just take out the highlighted part.
Just checking, how's
Thank
that?
you.
Okay.
Yep. Happy for me to speak?
Go ahead.
Contribute to, or seek to contribute to.
Instead of
any-
contributing,
Yep.
contribute.
Thank you.
Is that it? Yep.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Look, members, I absolutely agree. I think listening to our deputations tonight does bring it home We do, and I'm sure every other council across South Australia and Australia has this issue and is, probably grappling to tackle with it as well. On the Esplanade, particularly our coastal regions, they're probably much more heightened. It's a great place to ride my e-bike. I love it, but there does bring with it some real concerns for our community. The issue we're dealing with here, though, is not about the vehicle. Yes, we do have some that are souped up that are actually not within regulatory requirements, but this is about behaviour. The issue we're dealing with effectively is non-compliant, illegal and irresponsible use of these vehicles. The behaviour by road, footpath and shared pathway users using these vehicles is really what we need to try and address. The reality is that we as a council, we provide a vehicle, so to speak. We provide a beautiful shared pathway, but what actually happens on it and policing it doesn't actually fall under our purview. I think it is important, though, as a council to respond to the issues that have been raised. I guess my concern with the previous motion was that it was all-encompassing and sort of taking a much larger leadership role, so to speak, whereas we're actually working or having to work in a space that is, the purview of the state government and legislative frameworks around that. So important, I think, that we play a role from our community. We are really clear in establishing what is the best way for us as a council to actually advocate. And if we can do that successfully, I'm sure the state government is not unaware of these challenges. But I think in terms of what we as Onkaparinga Council can do, I would propose that this is a good way to step forward.
Thank you. I'm now needing a seconder for this motion, if it's to proceed. Yes.
Perfect. Can I ask the mover if they would consider adding in their point, identify issues, so in that to initiate a community conversation, bringing together a range of experts, other agencies and community groups to consider how we as a council can effectively advocate, council can identify the issues and effectively advocate, because I think there's, well, thank you.
So just to make it sure, so how we as a council can identify the issues and effectively...
Yes, just so we've got...
point 2.
We can really
as
bring
a council, consider...
To identify the issues and consider.
And to consider. So to identify the issues, after the words groups, to identify the issues and consider. Does that match? Let's just hang on a second. I just need to slow down to make sure I'm doing all the right things. What have you got a question, Councillor Drew?
I just wanted to ask as well, the amender. I wondered in relation to...
It hasn't been seconded yet.
Well, it's similar to what Councillor Woods was
I will
doing.
indulge the meeting so we can get to a conclusion. Go ahead.
It was around, so what I've heard is it's also behaviour, so therefore I was thinking about education, and that may sit in our wheelhouse.
So that may be
Everything else
captured
touches
in encumbered too.
Perfect, thank you.
Councillor Themilotis, did you have a question as well?
I'll second.
You'll second the motion.
I'll do it. Give me a
Are
crack.
there any? Would you like to speak to this motion? Just I'm just checking you haven't spoken to anything else. Go ahead.
Plenty of questions, no speaking. Yes, I would like to speak.
Go.
Yes, thank you. This motion, and even Councillor Wilkes's motion, is responding to genuine community concern. Residents along the Esplanade and shared paths, it's actually all paths in our city, either if they're shared or not, are telling us that they feel unsafe, particularly vulnerable pedestrians. And that matters, and we should act. And in fact, the gentleman that spoke today talked about facilitating action. So that was his goal for council, was to facilitate action. But I just want to highlight that we must be careful not to conflate two different issues. There is clearly a legal distinction between a personal mobility device and illegal high-powered electric motorbikes or other such bikes. Compliant pedal-assisted e-bike, compliant e-bikes are legal bikes. exceeding the 25-kilometre speed limit is where it becomes a bit of an issue. So I just don't want to, I want to highlight that because a lot of the concerns were the people who are doing the right thing are going to be captured in this. So one of the unintended consequences of this motion, if it's not framed carefully, which I think is what Councillor Greaves is attempting to do, is that we risk targeting lawful cyclist activity and the real issues around law enforcement and existing law enforcement against illegal devices. Compliant e-bikes enable older residents, as Councillor Wilkes mentioned, with limited abilities to be able to cycle and access our council area safely, and we shouldn't discourage that. So yes to strengthening enforcement, and yes to seeking some clarity from the state government, and yes to considering signage and education, but let us respond with precision so we can protect pedestrians without undermining lawful cyclists. We need to find that balance.
Thank you. I will, Councillor Greaves, do you want to close debate? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Sorry, the amended motion. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. That now becomes the motion. Councillor Wilkes, to close.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for contributing to this debate. It's greatly appreciated. I wanted to close by reinforcing what this motion is and what it is not. It's not an attack on responsible riders. It's not an attempt to wind back innovation or sustainable transport. And it's not a rejection of micro-mobility. In fact, in my opening debate, I acknowledged clearly that legal, compliant devices, when used appropriately, provide genuine community benefit. But leadership requires us to respond when the growing number of residents tell us something is not working. The consistent themes we are hearing are speed, intimidation, near misses, and a sense that there is little accountability when things go wrong. The absence of registration, identification, or visible differentiation between compliant and illegal devices makes enforcement extraordinarily difficult. Even when speed limits are clearly prescribed, such as the 10-kilometre road rule for PMDs, compliance relies almost entirely on voluntary behaviour. We cannot ignore the lived experience of pedestrians who no longer feel safe using our coast paths or trail paths that were originally designed primarily for them. We also recognise the complexity of enforcement. The South Australian Police Force face practical limitations. Officers must balance priorities. Identifying whether an e-bike exceeds legal motor limits is not straightforward without specialist equipment. That is precisely why advocacy for improved regulatory tools is necessary. But enforcement alone is not the full answer, and that is not what the most common theme is in this motion. It calls for the council to bring together the panel of experts, or actually initiate. So now we've got the one in front of us that's initiating the conversation. Together in partnership, we will be able to have a constructive conversation, because this motion is not divisive, it's forging important partnerships. This motion is responsible government brought on by the government that is closest to the community. So not doing nothing sends a message that declining community confidence is acceptable. To summarise, this motion seeks improved regulatory clarification, stronger coordination, practical enforcement tools and a framework that better protects vulnerable path users while still supporting innovative and sustainable transport. Our role as a council is to advocate when community safety concerns arise within our area. We are not rewriting legislation here tonight, but we are calling to be heard and to initiate the conversation of coordinated leadership and improved protection. Our shared paths should remain places where older residents feel comfortable walking, where a child can ride without fear and stand next to their mum's bicycle and not have a bike coming towards them, and where sustainable transport can coexist safely. Importantly, supporting this motion also means supporting constructive dialogue. The genuine appreciation for these modes of transport should be acknowledged, discussed and thoughtfully planned for in collaboration with our stakeholders. So again, this motion is not anti-micro mobility. It recognises the benefits while seeking to ensure they are delivered within a framework that maintains safety and community confidence. At its core, this motion was about balance, or is about balance. the balance between innovation and safety, balance between mobility and accountability, balance between stakeholder engagement and leadership. So tonight, councillors, I respectfully ask you to support this motion.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 11.2. Councillor Platten.
Thank you, Mayor. I read my notice of motion and I realised that I didn't include a background. And the reason for that is we all know that trolleys are an issue. Once, I think I referred in this chamber that trolleys were like Volvos. Once you see one, you see hundreds. And it's still an issue. We're privileged that, in a way, the state government did listen and have committed to giving us some more powers, which will not come into effect until 2027. And so what I really wanted to do was couple some sort of a rodeo, if you will, to round up all the trolleys and bring them back. I was privileged to have a number of conversations with our Manager of Fleet, Civil and Waste Operations, Josh, who's a friend here tonight, and he was very keen on making sure that there was a really excited participation, and so was I, from the supermarkets that give these wonderful mobility devices for our shopping life. And so you'll see that there's a few changes from the agenda item that's in front of you, and really those changes are in point 3. And what they pertain to is promote, prioritise, commit and implement. And what I'm seeking is for the Mayor to write a letter, and I love a mayoral letter, to retailers in our area. I want them to support the event on Clean Up Australia Day. I want them to prioritise collecting their trolleys. I want a commitment to our residents from them to pick up reported trolleys. It seems to be a disconnect between the reporting of trolleys and the picking up of trolleys, which disenfranchises community members to do that. And I want to see supermarkets and retail chains implementing best practice trolley management, moving forward to the 2027 legislative changes that we anticipate to happen, and I'm very excited about it. Chamber, I think it's important to continue to have a conversation, just like I think it's important to keep talking about cats. I know it's not on topic. And I think what we need to do is keep highlighting that our community continues to talk about waste, litter, and civic pride in their communities. And this is one issue. There are many. What I would like to see come from this is a report back which highlights participation rates, how our olive branch was received, and whether we were communicated with back. So I hope that you will support it.
Thank you. Councillor Dew. Question or...?
I'd like to second the motion, please. I'd like to thank Councillor Platten for bringing this to the chamber and your persistence on this issue, because it is quite pervasive across our city. As you referred to it as a mobility device, it actually made me think about where I see the highest rates of this issue, and it's an assumption I hold, but to me it's majority of the time in lower socioeconomic communities. And how I think it's interesting the message that those communities receive when they're continuously littered with trolleys, and maybe it's due to people not having access to cars and accessibility issues to transport, and therefore a trolley is used. But there's pride in people and place, and if people aren't taking responsibility and ownership, and when I say people, I mean some of these larger supermarkets aren't taking responsibility for their mobility devices, then I think that is a blight on our communities. I noticed when I was driving here the other night, I counted 13 along a main strip between Hackham to, well, we'll just name it Honeypot Road. And I reckon every time I go there, there's probably about that amount as well. And I think it's, a fantastic way that you're thinking about engaging us, retailers, and our local community. And I think this is a good opportunity. It'll be interesting to see what response we get.
Councillor Davis, question or debate?
Debate as well.
Go
I really
ahead.
like the idea. I like that there's a bit of fun in it and a bit of community pride in it. And my really only other contribution is to maybe 2 names for it as well, which was the Trolley Treasure Hunt or the Great Trolley Roundup.
Thank you. Councillor Greaves.
Oh, look, and on that theme, I actually really like, I think it's a great motion, and I think it's a great opportunity to get our retailers on board, but I think it should be, really heartfelt, bring them home.
Councillor Platten, would you like to close debate?
Yeah, just short. I'd like to say there's a reason why I in point 2, put or similar. Very open to name changes. Trolley Triumph, afterwards, if you want to name the report. I think, for me, Councillor Dew raises a fair point. I grew up in Hackham, and there is an enormous amount of pride in those communities, but often trolleys and large amounts of shopping are the only way that food gets home. And so, generally speaking, I also feel the same way, that our lower socioeconomic areas do struggle with this more. I think the real struggle here is the arbitrary way of reporting. We have to report to almost every single different retailer in order to have those trolleys picked up. And to me, that is inhibitive. And so the only way we've got at the moment to override that is with education. And I would really like to see retailers, supermarkets, chains that have trolleys to come on board to make it known that they're happy to pick them up. In 2027, they're going to have to do that anyway. There is proposed that they're going to have QR codes on trolleys, and these systems are going to be better regulated. So I think it's an opportune time to put the ball in their court to see if they'll come along and prioritise this.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. I love the creativity. Thank you very much. Councillor Davis, 11.3.
I'd like to move this motion with just the slight amendment that the request that the report come back in April. That's just highlighted up there.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And I'll go with Councillor Wilkes's lead on what this motion's not about. It's not about whether we should be using AI or not. It's certainly not about if we should be having data centres or where they should be built or anything like that. This motion's about bringing attention to the environmental impacts of using AI. Reports would indicate that a huge amount of water and power are used to run data centres, and then in the next 30 years that power to run the data centres will double at least. This motion is about having clear and factual information to support elected members, staff and our community to use AI wisely and know the environmental impacts. And like all decisions, with good information, you can make an informed call in regards to those impacts. Like when you decide what car you drive, what food and clothing you purchase and how you dispose of them, when you make decisions on how and where you travel and how you get your takeaway coffee. The City of Copperinga has a strong history of leading in innovation and environmental responsibility. There are so many touch points in the day where you can opt to reduce the environmental impact of your actions. This motion seeks to support a proactive, informed and transparent approach, ensuring Council remains well prepared while continuing to foster community trust.
Thank you. Councillor Fisher, are you seconding the motion?
I'll second it.
Do you wish to debate?
I only get one chance, don't I?
You do. This is true.
Debate. Many organisations are looking at the impact of artificial intelligence to their organisations, and I think the council should also. That's a reflection or an examination of internal processes and external. So I urge fellow councillors to support the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Pritchard.
Question.
Go ahead.
Does council currently have an AI policy?
I believe we do, but I'll just double check that from someone who actually knows the right answer. Thank you. Okay, to take that question.
So through the Mayor, yes, we do have an AI policy.
Can you advise when that AI policy is next up for revision?
So through the Mayor, it has just been through an internal review and just recently approved at our directors group.
Can you explain why the AI policy doesn't come to the chamber? It just goes to the directors group for approval?
So through the Mayor, the AI policy is currently about our internal use of AI, and so it's not a broader community or council lens. It's providing guidance for staff on the responsible use of AI in their day-to-day working.
So given point one is about current and potential use of AI within council operations, do you think that we should perhaps bring that AI policy to the chamber as part of this motion, potentially?
To be included in the report or as a...
That's where I'm going with my amendment, potentially, if
Okay.
the answer is yes.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to channel you. Back to you.
So through the Mayor, yes, we could provide it as part of this report.
Happy with it?
And I just wanted to just clarify, so it's also about sustainability impact as well, yeah. Any further questions? Councillor Davis, do you wish to close? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Look forward to that report. Councillor Wilkes, 11.4.
I will start with some questions, please, or a question.
You're moving, yep.
I'll start with a question.
Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we have received a blank organisational response to the informal questions, and I'd just like some commentary as to why.
Through the Chair, we were unable to complete the response by the time of the council meeting. However, we can commit to sending that through to you through EM inquiry as soon as we're able.
So, with the administration not providing the response in the informal questions, there was also the same questions submitted over 10 days ago through the EM system, and they haven't been provided, the answers haven't been provided to those questions either. And I would just, it's hard to make a decision when we don't have the answers.
Thank you. Through the Chair, I'm aware that an interim response was provided because the events team were finalising planning and delivering the event and were unable to provide the responses in time.
So can the administration, through the Mayor, please explain the reason as to why the list of which local businesses were contacted in regards to the Beachside Food and Wine before January 21st and how these businesses were contacted? The second question was on October 17th. Approximately 6 businesses were contacted in regards to the festival zone. Can you please provide the map attached to the email sent to the businesses? And the other question asked over 12 days ago of administration was who planned, well, sorry, this one was asked only 10 days ago. Who planned the entry and exit layout for the access point on Clement Terrace?
So, Councillor Wilkes, just a question I've got. Would those answers be contained within the responses to the motion?
Well...
Or does the motion require the answers to those questions first?
Well, I've asked the administration through 2 different mechanisms now for a list of businesses that were contacted, and it's been quite a long time, and I would just like some clarification as to why the business list is not provided.
Sure. I'm just seeing if whether that would be included in the report. That's all that you're requesting. That's all. Just checking.
Sorry. That's okay.
No, that's, I was just checking. Go ahead.
Through the chair, the map was provided through the previous EM inquiry. It's just the outstanding questions about I think it was the number of business and the business names that you wanted listed with respect to who planned the event entry zone. That was the events team.
So the question put to administration that hasn't been answered on 2 occasions now is who on their 17th of October, approximately 6 local businesses were contacted in regards to the festival zone. Can you please provide the map attached to the email sent to the businesses?
That has been provided through EM inquiry to yourself.
No, it's...
And that map was also sent to you via email from myself after we had that first conversation.
So
that was the map that didn't have the clear entry points. That's the one you're referring to that was in the October email that was sent to the businesses.
So I've clearly asked the administration to provide that map in the informal meeting request, and I have now been told that that can't be provided, I believe. So I don't understand why it's not answered in here.
So are you able to continue with the motion, or do you wish to not continue with the motion without that information?
Can I just
I think you've made your point, and I appreciate that.
Well, can I just seek some clarity as to why that map's not provided in here?
I think what we've heard is that there was a map provided through an EM inquiry. Is that correct?
Correct. The map has previously been provided through an EM inquiry, and apologies again, the complete informal questions weren't able to be completed in time for the meeting.
So are you able to proceed with the motion or not?
I still have some questions in regards to why my informal questions were not answered by administration.
I don't know that there's any further information that can be provided. I think they've been answered.
So can I just get a really simple clarification?
I will let the staff answer that one more time, but it'll be through the same words, and then if you don't want to put the motion, that's your choice. Otherwise, we'll proceed to the motion.
Okay, so I'll ask one last question.
Yep, go ahead.
I have stated some informal questions from the administration seeking answers, so my elected body would have that information. Why have they not been filled out?
Been provided this evening.
In our informal meeting. Why have they not been answered?
Through the chair, the events team comprises of 2 staff, and they have currently been unavailable to provide me with the information to complete the elected member informal questions.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'll move into debate.
So you're moving the motion?
I will move in the motion, please.
Go ahead.
Look, I really wanted to give the clarity to the chamber, and I did submit questions to the administration through EM inquiry, and I have submitted questions through the informal process as well. We've obviously got a motion before us that is looking at the Beachside Food and Wine Festival. It has 2 parts to it. On February 7th, 2026, the City of Onkaparinga delivered what was by many accounts a vibrant, well-attended beachside food and wine festival along part of Beach Road Precinct and Rotary Park. The intention was admirable and strongly supported by the Onkaparinga community, celebrating local produce, activating our coastline and attracting visitors to our region. And in many respects, it succeeded. A majority of attendees loved the festival. It brought energy, life and tourism to Christie's Beach and provided a wonderful opportunity for people, particularly some of our older residents, to gather and enjoy our weekend together. However, as an elected member, our role is to not only celebrate success, it's also to listen carefully when members of our community tell us that something did not go right. In the lead up to and following the event, we heard from several very local businesses at the special council meeting and here tonight, and that's what this debate is based on, is from what we've heard at the special council meeting and here tonight, is that they were affected directly by the event due to their location. That clearly expressed concern, the businesses did, and in turn they have now reported a loss of trading on the day. Tonight, the deputies spoke passionately about being excluded from the participation, despite asking to be included, and this very small number of businesses who have used their voices to express disappointment of their exclusion. Tonight, it has also been highlighted that a number of very local businesses, either inside the event zone or had fences directly in front of their businesses, were never contacted at all to ask whether they will wish to participate. Several residents also described confusion around access on the Facebook platforms and social media platforms, even after this chamber resolved to establish an access point on Clements Terrace. This particular endorsed access point was not clearly labelled at the festival and was partially obscured by continuous fencing across the sightline. A road sign was placed 5 metres in front of the endorsed point, and it had a prominent no entry insert, and cones was positioned in front of that, effectively discouraging entry and exit as you approached. I actually went up to the event organisers specified that over 700 people had actually used, despite that 700 people by 7 p.m. had already used that exit and entry point, even though it was completely concealed. It felt like it was completely concealed and stated by our deputies. In addition to this arguably hidden access point on Clement Terrace, none of the other measures outlined in Council's media release and discussed at the special council meeting on January 29th include delayed fencing, clear signage and targeted communications of these businesses who were excluded out of the zone were implemented during the festival. So please don't misunderstand me. This is not about undermining the event. It's about reflection, improvement and implementation. As an educator, I firmly believe reflection is not an exercise in blame. It's an exercise in growth. Reflection allows us to identify strengths, acknowledge shortcomings, and design better systems for the future. Without reflection, we can be simply repeating mistakes. With reflection, we improve outcomes. That is why the motion has 2 parts. I'll let you have a read of it, and it's been in the agenda, and I look forward to hearing the debate.
Have a seconder, Councillor Greaves.
Thank you. Look, I am happy to second this, probably for different reasons to Councillor Wilkes. Look, I do think that whenever we have these events, and particularly the change to this year's event was initiated by the 2 local ward members, and of course we all know that when we do make changes to significant events, they can come with teething problems. And obviously what we saw in this chamber a couple of weeks ago raised, I guess, some problems that were highlighted by some businesses and by Councillor Wilkes. Anyway, that aside, we responded to it. I think what this motion does, it provides council staff the opportunity to simply answer the questions. Have a warts and all review of it. Have a look at, and I think you've identified it quite clearly, Councillor Wilkes, what worked well, what did not work well, where we can improve. It's those 3 things that we really need to focus on whenever we put on events and whenever we seek to actually improve them. I think there is a lot of angst around this. Certainly from a business perspective, there were feelings of missing out, feelings of disappointment, and that could have been for a whole range of reasons. Not participating in the early engagement, not understanding what the engagement was, not clearly understanding what the potential implications were for their business. There's lots of reasons. But I do think it is important that as a council we give our 2 event staff the opportunity to actually sit back and reflect on this deeply so that next year we can learn from it, we can improve it, and hopefully we won't have the same sort of issues come up.
Thank you. Councillor Dew, question or debate?
Just 2 questions, please.
Okay.
One is it usual for council to undertake an evaluation over events and projects?
Through the Chair, following every one of our 6 major events, we conduct a thorough post-evaluation report. So this is actually a great opportunity that we'll just bring that report to the chamber, and it highlights all of the items that Councillor Wilkes has identified in her notice of motion.
Thank you. And I know we've discussed it previously, but attending the event, and still question, but I'm giving a lot of context, so maybe I'll just say debate.
Go ahead, because I was just about to press the button. So thank you, Councillor G.
I attended the event and saw absolutely a buzz, and there were two things that came to my mind. One was, why can't we do this more? I know we have 2 staff. I wondered about cost neutrality and how I know staff are working so hard already trying to find other sources of revenue, but the activation of place is incredible, and I'm sure people were able to enjoy our city from outside our area as well. It was a fantastic night, which then made me a little envious, and I started to think how amazing it would be in Thalassa, in the north, in McLaren Vale, in Willunga, in our, Aldinga, Willunga, Port Willunga, Moana. There are many places that could really benefit from such an event, and I wondered if that could also be potentially considered. Actually, a question then is...
So are you closing debate, or do you want to finish your debate and ask a question?
Am I allowed to do that? Yes.
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you.
So you're closing your debate?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And my question is...
Now you can ask a question. Go ahead.
Thank you. Could different locations also be considered?
Through the chair, when we undertook an events review, I think it was 2 to 3 years ago, we did present to the chamber that there's certainly an opportunity to look at rotating the Beachside Food and Wine Festival around other regions in our city so that we can activate other parts of the city. And we will bring back some options and recommendations in this report.
No further questions. Councillor Wilkes, do you wish to close debate or question?
Just around that, so if in the report, is the administration saying that they will now reconsider the location?
Through the chair, as with any thorough review, we will look at all options to improve the event for the community, including different location options to present to the chamber.
In the resolution of council that endorsed the location at Christie's Beach, because I remember that motion well, what was the time frame that was implemented that the Beachside Food and Wine Festival will stay at Christie's Beach?
Through the chair, I'd need to revisit that report to look at that, I'm sorry.
Okay, so through the chair, is the administration now saying that, if we have an endorsed motion of council to keep the Beachside Food and Wine Festival at that location for a period of time...
Yeah, I think that's outside of this motion.
No, is the administration now saying that they're, in this report, going to include other places for the Beachside Food and Wine?
The way I'm reading the report is that would probably fit into the section 2.
So, no. The section 2 is about engagement of the engagement policy that we have open at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm just sort of saying we haven't endorsed the chamber has endorsed the duration of the Beachside Food and Wine Festival at Christie's Beach for a certain amount of time. This motion is not at all suggesting that we go and investigate a new location and take it from Christie's Beach. We have an endorsed motion that keeps it there for a certain amount of time.
Yes,
I will check that, but through the chair, where we do look at asking for opportunities for improvement, there has been some feedback that potentially it may have outgrown the location. So I'm not recommending to remove it at all from Christie's Beach, but we will also present other opportunities for improvement, which could include alternate locations or additional.
So can I ask what part of the motion does the administration see is the...
I think that's outside of the motion that's currently in front of us.
Is that moving the location from Christie's... is overriding that endorsed... So we have an endorsed decision by this chamber to keep
and so
it at Christie's Beach.
That will be brought back to us, and the current motion that you've got in front of us is about providing a report from the recent Food and Wine Festival. So that's what will be in the report.
But it's not asking for you to consider new locations.
No, but that's what will be in the report. So
so can the administration please highlight where that is in the report so I can remove it? I don't want us to consider new locations. I want us to reflect on the event that's been.
Yes, that is what will be happening. It will be reflected. Yep. Yes, so that Councillor Wilkes is just seeking clarification, making sure that the review will be on this venue and for this festival.
And it's a reflection, not a projection.
Correct, a reflection of what's just happened.
Yes,
Yep.
not considering new locations moving forward.
Through the chair, no, that's fine. I was just addressing Councillor Dew's question that would we, as part of this process, look at alternative locations?
And I'm trying to get through the chair.
I think that they're both,
So
it's
are we-
both and.
so
So this
are we-
motion is about the review of the recent event, and the response that the administration gave to Councillor Dew was about events.
Okay.
And how we evaluate events.
So I'm asking where it is in the motion that the council is, sorry, that the administration is assuming that, well, or where it states that we are now going to override the decision of council to keep the Beachside Food and Wine Festival at Christie's Beach and look at a new location.
That's not what your motion is what's before the chamber. So that is, if it gets passed by the chamber, that is the motion that will be enacted by the administration.
Okay,
so the question that was being responded to was our current policy around events, full stop, macro. This is about this event, your motion's this event.
Okay.
So that's what will, if it gets passed, that's what the administration will do. That is the purpose of a motion for the, yep.
Okay, so maybe I should, with the seconder.
Yes,
no?
with the
Just
seconder.
put the current of the 2026
And that's
event.
what it says at the top. That's the opening
Where
sentence.
does it say 2026?
The recent, we can have 2026 if you'd like to use the word 2026.
Okay. Oh,
Would you
golly.
support that, seconder? Yep. The seconder's happy with that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Would you like to close debate?
I would hate to think that this would override another motion that we've already moved.
Would you like to close debate?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Oh, no, I don't need to say thank you. Okay. As I've said from the beginning, and since I was contacted from local community businesses, this has never been about diminishing the event. It's for many, it was a vibrant and enjoyable event. The Beachside Food and Wine Festival activated Beach Road and Rotary Park, and it brought people together, showcasing our region in a positive light. I've always seen my role as an elected member is to be a voice for the community, and this is probably the strongest voice I've had to be for the community, and I felt it was a really difficult decision to have to implement this as a reflection, but it was also a really difficult decision to have to stand up for the community and call a special council meeting and have everybody come into this room. I don't see my role here as a councillor directing in an operational perspective. I know we have the ability to do that because of the ability to call special council meetings. But I just think that leadership requires us to hold two faces or two facts at once. The first fact was that the majority of the people loved the festival, and at the same time, a number of very local businesses experienced real impact. They've come in today, they've called me, we've communicated, I'm right there in the community as we all are, and it's really difficult, and it was really difficult, and it shouldn't have been. That's a personal statement though, so I'll retract that. This motion before us is grounded in three simple principles: reflection, improvement, and implementation. The two parts. The first part seeks a transparent and detailed review that in no way would like to see the Christie's Beach Food and Wine Festival, the Food and Wine Festival, not location of Christie's Beach anymore. The second part ensures that as our engagement policy is reviewed, we embed a stronger and clearer defined framework for business engagement. When council-led events affecting trade conditions or customer access, proactive and direct communication must be standard practice, not an afterthought. Our small businesses are part of the fabric of our community. When we activate precincts, they should feel included and supported, not overlooked, not sitting in front of us saying to us, I feel like I wasn't part of the festival when I'm 10 metres from the gate. So Reflection is not about blame. It's not about strengthening our process. It is about strengthening our processes so future events are not only vibrant and well attended, as this one was, but it's also inclusive and well managed, okay? If we get this right, we can build trust, strengthen relationships, and deliver a festival that everyone can feel a part of next time, especially the businesses who are in and around the area. And I just wanted to highlight that a lot of the businesses that also contacted me as an afterthought were hairdressers, people that booked clients in, people that had fences right in front of their businesses who didn't know that they needed to communicate that they weren't going to have foot traffic in front of them. So, Chamber, I urge you to support this motion and understand this is, this is from a professional aspect, looking at what we can hopefully do better. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Item 12.1, the petition for footpath installation at Atkinson Crescent. Councillor Dew.
I'd like to move it, thank you, and I'd like to go into debate. Yes, please.
Go ahead.
I was contacted, probably alongside Councillor Yeomans too. We get always often included in both emails, both of us in emails, about this, and it was a really interesting proposition. So the local community, the local street, many of the residents on the local street initially made contact. Sorry, I'll start again. One person in particular made contact with Councillor Yeomans and I and said, we have noticed that Atkinson Crescent is due for an upgrade of a footpath. And they said, we've spoken to many people on our street and our street don't see this as a priority. We like our street the way it is. And it's really interesting when we talk about footpaths because each local community has a different perspective on it. I know many people from Selix who really want a footpath, and at the same time many people that don't. They want Selix to retain its way it currently looks and is and feels. So this is similar to that, and I appreciate the staff feedback was we need to ascertain actually how many people actually hold this position. So the individual went out and door knocked and got the signatures that you see in front of you. And this is a great way for, and then also another acknowledgement, staff actually, it probably says it in the report, extended the time period for the Your Say to allow more people to participate in that. And this is a great opportunity for us then here back to make a really informed decision whether or not we fund this or we listen to the community in this instance and reconsider what we might do going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkes.
Sure. Sorry, can I just ask a question? So we've got the affected residents who everyone's been contacted with a letter. We're now going to let those people who live on the street, we're going to contact them again.
So this item is to receive the petition and to note it?
Yes. Note all directly.
And then to get a report. So the item is to receive the petition, notify residents and note that that's what's happening. So our normal process. So it's our normal petition process.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Dew, for giving the background. Thank you, Mayor Weir, for giving that clarification as well. The reason I ask is because this is giving Murray Street vibes, where we had a group of residents.
Are you debating or are you seconding the motion?
Sorry, yes, I'm seconding.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm debating.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. And this is giving Murray Street vibes where we have, a really highly engaged section of the community who were super, they had 4 options and they were super focused on one option, and then there was sort of another group of residents on the street who didn't really feel comfortable to speak out. So I just wanted to sort of highlight that when we approached this one, and was hoping that the engagement or the report will highlight how residents are engaged, because I remember when we sent letters to the Murray Street, lots of them didn't receive those letters or they must have put them aside, but door knocking was a really effective mechanism to really try and capture all the voices. So I look forward to seeing the report, and just wanted to highlight that I hope that the whole street's voice can be captured and not just those voices who are speaking the loudest in the petition.
Councillor Yeomans.
Just a couple of questions,
Go ahead.
if I can. Yeah, just on point 3, we're talking about notes further investigation be undertaken. Noting what's concluded in the letter that's being sent out to the residents, and that sort of talks more about our internal processes in relation to the service levels and that sort of stuff. Noting that the petition has 26 out of 46 addresses, to get a really informed decision when the report comes back, and on the line of what Councillor Wilkes was saying, I can only presume that less than half of those people either didn't want to sign the petition or weren't aware of the petition, or are against the fact of not having a footpath. So we can get an informed decision. I'd really encourage staff to go to the nth degree, so we know exactly how many residents are, particularly living on that street, are keen for and not keen for a footpath. Because reading this now, you've got 26 residents out of 46. So that's just over half. So I'd like to know what the view is of those other people, if that's possible.
So
I think
the question is methodology, or do you just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention?
Bring to the attention that point, but also if we're going to make an informed decision, it's very hard to do that.
So in the report to make sure that's all been covered.
I'd like, and on Councillor Wilkes is saying too, I would encourage a face-to-face approach as opposed to another letter drop.
Okay. Yeah. Is that something that we can offer, or you can take it on notice? That's okay.
I'll attempt to answer it now, what's going to happen. So we propose to present a findings report with options for recommendations at the next council meeting. Because we have so many footpaths, undertaking extensive community engagement isn't necessarily feasible for all footpath installations, plus the residents of the street are obviously not the only users of the said footpaths. So if there's a specific request to do that, then we can undertake community engagement, but it would be an abnormal process.
Yep, okay. If you've written that in the report or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't amend the motion now. It's not me that can do it.
No. I think the intent has been heard, and I think the staff can take something from that debate. Do you have another question?
Just one more question. Just on the fact sheet, this attached to the papers on page 380. What if I don't want a footpath? It says our footpath construction program aligns with our community plan, and all roads need to have a type of working facility out of vehicle path. Therefore, the annual footpath installation program is not for negotiation with individual residents. First, I just find that a bit harsh, but from a community engagement perspective, what are we trying to say? What are we saying there? So, my question is, can we consider the language that we're using? Because this, to me, is deterring anybody from putting their hand up to say exactly what's happened here with the petition. So, not having a crack at you, because I know you're not the author, but just something that
sure. So
consider.
It's something that would be some kind of revision of that communication to make sure everyone understands what the purpose is. Yeah. I'll let them take that on notice, and having heard that directly from your councillor. Councillor Fisher?
Thank you, Mayor. It's a question without notice. What's the cost of this project? Do we know? Ballpark figure?
I believe it's approximately $150,000.
Councillor Platten?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question about consultation on this project again. Given that we've received a petition against it, surely that would deviate us from the path that we would normally take.
Not necessarily. Would you like to debate that point?
Well, I'm happy to.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Rather than be prophetic.
Sure.
You know how I like practical
You
things.
enjoyed it though. Councillors, this is again another indication of why we're having a consultation review. Time and time again, we hear about letters not being responded to. We receive petitions. We get told that they'll be sent another letter, and our community is asking for face-to-face contact in some way. To me, my expectation isn't really that every single consultation requires face-to-face contact. But given we have received a petition for potentially over 50% of people that have been contacted, surely we would, as a council, then say, okay, we're going to need to deviate from our standard procedure, because this is now not a standard undertaking. We undertake thousands of pathways, no doubt, but given this one has received a petition of more than 50% of the people that we've sent a letter to, that would indicate that we probably need to do something a little bit more.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wilkes.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So when we deliberated Murray Road and we had an open engagement and we received the petition, and then we received a petition during that time, and then we made a decision as council. There was a section 270 applied to that decision. Then after that decision was completely reviewed, we had the legal representation come here and give us advice that we should look at reflecting on what had happened in that instance and having an open engagement and having the possibility for council to receive a petition. He suggested that we should be looking at that so it doesn't happen again. I was wondering, did we take that advice on board, or can we be provided some commentary around that?
Section 270, your specialty.
Through the Mayor, to Section 270 is not quite my specialty, but I'm happy to answer the question. The reason for the additional dot points in the recommendation here are because they are steps that we are undertaking now as a result of the Murray Road example and the information that was provided as a part of that. So the running back to residents to notify them we have received a petition is an important step that responds directly to that. That's why it's not as simple as a receiving report that says we've got a petition, we'll write you another report. We've introduced that step to ensure everybody is aware of that. I guess just to round back on a couple of the other questions asked, I'm happy to commit to the door knocking of the residents this evening so that we'll undertake that as an additional step. But I also do just want to emphasise that this footpath isn't just to service the people who live on that street. And I know in my area, I walk through many a street that isn't in front of my own property. And so one of the challenges we have, and the reason for framing, as Councillor Yeoman asked the question about our service level, is to provide a footpath on the street. It's in consultation with the people who live in that street. But it isn't always, they're not always the deciding factor in whether or not we do or don't provide that. But ultimately, that's information we'll bring back in a further report for you to consider and make a decision around.
So continuous learning from Murray Road. Another question? Hang on a second. Hang on. Go.
Thank you so much for explaining that. That's awesome. I'm so happy to see that extra step. Just going a little bit further, and when you've mentioned that we are, because there's a community centre really close to there on Butterworth Road, and this is a connecting road, what's the plan to sort of encapsulate the data of the residents who could possibly use that road but not live on that road?
Through the Mayor, at this point, the further step we're taking will just remain with the people who've been written to and participated in the consultation to date. So it won't be a broader engagement process beyond that street, but we will, I guess, present that information in the context that there are broader users there who may be travelling through the site to other facilities as well. So they won't be consulted, but we'll reflect that as people who potentially benefit from it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Councillor Davis?
Considering this is a petition rather than a motion, is there a need or requirement for an amendment, or is that enough that we can just, nope, don't need an amendment?
That's your choice.
No, that's right.
Councillor Themialotis?
Yes, I might just do some brief debate.
Debate? Go ahead.
Yes. Also a little bit of repeat of elected members and why I feel like door knocking this particular spot is quite important, because I've read the petition and it sort of contradicts itself, and it gets me very, very concerned, because in the petition it says does not proceed with the footpath proposed installation at this stage, which then opens the door for a footpath down the track, and then when it goes into draws the attention to the reasons why, it goes further to say that the proposed project is somewhat premature given the environment around the proposed pathway, which doesn't actually tell me that they're fully against the pathway. Because I know in Thalassa, we'll happily take your pathway. I've said it, done it. I'll happily take, but this even highlights further that there needs to be a conversation with these residents, because if this project does get pulled, it doesn't mean in 12 months' time you get it back. It goes back into a cycle, and they could be 10, 15 years out. So the petition itself gives me quite concern that they're actually open to having a pathway, but they've just got some things that need to be considered at this stage, and it still opens the door for a pathway. It's not actually a blanket no pathway. That's all.
Thank you. No need to answer any of that. Lovely debate. Thank you. Just debate. Councillor Dew, a question?
I'm just fine.
Oh, okay. Councillor Eaton?
Yeah. What year was this area developed?
Do you want to take that on notice? Thank you.
Because certainly, as Councillor Fialotis said, we've got areas in Aberfoyle Park that were developed in 1970, still waiting for footpaths. So it'd be far better to, if these people don't want it, look, we will have it. Thank you very much. Reed Avenue would love to have it.
We will debate. That's outside of the parameters of this item, but I appreciate your passion. Councillor Fisher?
Formal motion, Mayor, to put the motion.
You put the motion. Do I have a seconder to for that? Do I have a seconder for that? Is that Councillor Platten? No, I can't. You can't settle? Councillor Greaves can. All in favour to put the motion? The motion is now put. Who? Oh, there's no more debate. There's no more debate. Yes, you can. There's Councillor Themialotis was against, and Councillor Wilkes. No one, there we go, that's it. Carried, thank you. We are now moving into confidential items. I'll put the motion, apologies. Yeah. I now put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? There we go, carried. Still the same result. Thank you. We now need to exclude the public. Oh, no urgent business, keep going. No, just keep going, keep going. Can I have a mover for... No urgent business. Can I have a mover for the confidential, moving into confidence? Councillor Greaves, seconder. Councillor Pritchard. Councillors, we're still in meeting. Can we please settle down and get on with the work we need to yet do? All those in favour? Against? Carried?
Now we need to remove people.
And now it's time for the meeting to remove those who don't need to be here.
Recording stopped.